Okay. All right, I think we are finally live. What is going on, everybody? It's his Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another Xbox 2 podcast. And thank God we have a very healthy Jez Corden of Windows Central, because we weren't sure last week, guys. Jez was a little bit touch and go. If you listen to the show, we weren't sure if Jez was going to make it much longer. In fact, Jez was really scared, So, Jez, you're here. You're healthy again. How you feeling, buddy? It was a pretty tough week. Pretty tough. Like what? 10 days for you? You were really sick.
2.5 weeks. I was ill. Like I'm never in my entire adult life, I've never been that ill. So I was pretty worried, man. I was thinking like, what the hell is wrong with me? And the doctor, I still haven't had the test back from the doctor except for the coronavirus test, which was negative, thank God. But yeah, I survived, and hopefully I'll make it through to Cyberpunk, which keeps getting delayed. And I think it'll probably get delayed again, and then I'll have to wait even longer and survive even longer through this apocalyptic year we're living in.
Yes. What a great year. It was the most filmic year. 2020 is the most filmic year. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. I mean, we just got a new channel member, V Simcoe. Thank you very much. And for those of you who are channel members, yes, I'm working on an icon and emotes, and Filmic will be one of the emotes. I'm working with the one and only Colt Eastwood. He's going to make a lot of emotes for us so we can have fun, spam them and chat and stuff like that. So, if you're here, if you enjoy the content, you want to support the channel, a good way is hitting that little join button, that's the subscribe button, and becoming a member. We got a lot of stuff planned for that. Yeah, but I've been pretty good, Jez. I mean, it's a rough year. Every time I try to look at the news, it's always just very depressing. But then there's always Xbox, and there's video games, and we got the July showcase coming up. And I started playing The Messenger, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which is the footage that is playing right now. Have you played The Messenger? Heard much about The Messenger?
I haven't. What is The Messenger? What is it?
Well, we'll talk about it when we talk about the games. So, it's like a Metroidvania, side-scrolling platformer, and it's so freaking good. But yeah, so we'll start off the show talking about how I betrayed Jez, only because Jez originally betrayed me. He's a betrayer. So, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter or whatever, I was actually a guest on a couple podcasts this week. One of them, I did a show with Direct Feed Games, a.k.a. Nate the Hate, and MVG, the Modern Vintage Gamer. Both those guys have YouTube channels. Modern Vintage Gamer's got over 500,000 subs. He's a huge YouTuber. They're both part of the Spawn Wave, the Spawncast on Spawn Wave's channel, and they do kind of a discussion. And I joined them to talk about the Xbox showcase, and we were also joined by the one and only Jeff Grubb, the ultimate insider, who seems to know everything about everything. Jez,
he's a pretty filmic insider.
He is pretty filmic. So shout out to those guys. Make sure you guys go check out that podcast. And then also I was a guest on Gamertag Radio with Godfrey and Paris, but unfortunately Paris wasn't there. And I was just getting back at you, Jez, because you did it months ago. They wanted you first. So I'm a little hurt by that. They wanted. I mean, I understand why. You're Jez Corden of Windows Central, and I'm just, hey, it's Randall Thor 19, YouTuber. Sound as good, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm betraying you again because I'm going to be on the Escapist podcast next week.
The Escapist podcast. Oh my God.
Oh man, climbing up in the world, man.
You are
climbing up in the world. Soon we'll be guesting on Major Nelson Radio. Then we could just replace Major Nelson on Major Nelson Radio.
No, that would be.
We can become the Major Filmic Podcast Radio.
That's right, the Filmic 2 podcast. And also, I think you're going to be on RDX pretty soon with Dealer and Colt and those guys, right?
Yeah, I really want to do RDX, but man, they record very late at night. Damn time zone. So we'll have to see how that goes, but hopefully. So, yeah, we hope everybody's having a great Friday. It's the start of the weekend. Shout out to Hazador and Gunstar and Nine Lives, Dark Times, Miles, who made an excellent prediction video on the Windows Central Gaming
channel. Make sure you guys go check it out and sub. You guys go to get to like 10,000 subs really soon, right? Or 10,000 subs by the end of the year.
Miles wants to get 10,000 subs by the end of the month.
Yeah.
That guy is ambitious.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Lethal and Jeffrey Daniel and everybody in the chat. There's a lot of people here. Binyabik, all the channel members. I see Show Shady. Then right, The Messenger is pretty damn good. So shout out to everybody here. Make sure you hit the like button. Share the podcast out. It's the little button's right next there to the bell icon and all that stuff. YouTube doesn't really do a good job of notifying people when the podcast is live. So Axel says it wasn't Rona. Sounds like Jez was malingering. Were you malingering, Jez? And we also have a comment from Splatman. Hey, Randall, just wanted to say you, Jez, Dealer, Cold Eastwood, and Zalker put great videos out there. Thanks for keeping us informed and entertained. Yeah, that's what it is. I make my videos entertainment, try to keep people informed of what's going on. The times are they're crappy, right? And personally, I don't want to tune in to get on Twitter and just see constant hate about stuff. Like if the way my mind works is if I hate something or I don't care about something, I just don't entertain it. I don't care about Nintendo, so I don't go looking for Nintendo news and trolling Nintendo YouTubers. It just doesn't matter to my life. So when I see a bunch of people trolling Xbox and PlayStation fans who talk more about Xbox than they talk about PlayStation, I know deep down they care about Xbox. And they can say all they want that Xbox is irrelevant and look at the comparisons between Xbox's announcement for the July showcase and the game cases for PlayStation. We can compare those on Twitter and PlayStation has more likes and retweets. PlayStation's a bigger worldwide brand, as PlayStation fans love to brag about, and it is true. But yet, I don't know why. PlayStation fans just can't keep Xbox out of their mouths. It's so funny.
Xbox lives rent-free in their minds.
That sure does. They talk about how irrelevant it is, but is it really? Because you're talking about it, and if it was irrelevant, you wouldn't even mention it. But that's how some of these guys get their kicks. Their lives are really shitty, so they jump online and they try to get retweets and likes from a crowd that just does not give two craps about them. I just kind of got to get that off my chest a little bit. I hate seeing that. DJ Hero says, Xbox 2 podcast taking over the podcast world. Yeah, we're moving up in the world. I think, Jez, what was the little ranking that you saw? You showed me? It was the tech. We were 100 on Apple or something in the tech podcast or something.
We're in the top. Because SoundCloud doesn't let us have video games as the podcast category. So I put the technology category. And we are now in the top 100 technology podcasts on iTunes in the US.
It's weird. It's very weird.
It's weird, but I'm looking into migrating us to a different service so we can actually get the correct category. But all fun and games.
All fun and games indeed. Shout out to Sin Vendetta for the super chase. Says, Rand, I listened to the Nate the Hate podcast with you on it. Great conversation, but it seemed like you left halfway through. That is unfortunate. I did. Something came up halfway through and I had to go. So I would be talking, and then of course eventually it was just oh well, Rand's gone, and so that's a little bit unfortunate. But I will be back on their show when the Xbox game showcase. They want me to come back and talk about what we felt about the show. So look forward to that. I'll be doing a lot of podcasts. I think I'm doing RDX right after the show. I don't know if Dealer's announced it already, but he's going to go live right after the Xbox game showcase, and I'll be there with him. I really haven't decided what I'm going to do. I might do a podcast afterwards. I know me and Jez will do Xbox 2 the following day. I might go live after I do RDX. I might just make a video. Not really sure yet, but yeah. Adam says, hey, what is up with this Capcom rumor that came out of nowhere? Didn't even make any radars until your Windows Central video was that skinny, yo. Yeah, so the Dead Rising Capcom thing, that Undead Labs, wasn't that the prediction? I've seen people ask me about this.
That was just Miles being creative.
True, but you want to know something? Here's the thing. I get so many DMs about Xbox stuff, this is what, here's a rumor about Forza Motorsport 8. Here's a leak about all this stuff. Here's this and this and that and other. A couple people sent me the video, and they're like, "Is this true, Rand? Is Undead Labs working on Dead Rising 5?" And I'm like, "What?" I doubt it. I mean, why would they? Like, Dead Rising is, no pun intended here, a dead franchise. Dead Rising 4 did not do very well. It's owned by Capcom. Why would Xbox want to license out the Dead Rising franchise and have Undead Labs work on it? That's kind of like counterintuitive to what they actually want. It's a fun prediction, right? But
it's Miles said at the start, it was just speculation and fun predictions. I think it's more like he likes Dead Rising and thinks it'd be cool. Yeah, I don't think there's any real possibility of that happening.
No, it was fun, but I'm just saying, like, how people take everything, any sort of news or rumors or speculation, and they send it my way, and they're like, "Is this true? Is this true?" Number one, I don't know everything that's happening in the video game world. Like, I'm honored to think that a lot of you do. Like, "Oh, is this true?" Like, I only know the bits and pieces, and sometimes even the stuff I do know may not actually be true. But I'm flattered. But he was just, "Hey, is this Is this Dead Rising? Are they making Dead Rising?" But like, no, I doubt they're making Dead Rising. Stodgy Caesar says,
if they had some kind of DLC pack for it, because they've done some like IP tie-in DLC for State of Decay, like Dead Rising DLC pack would be pretty cool. But
yeah. No, that'd be interesting. Stodgy Caesar says, "Those that talk the most play the list." That is sure. There's a lot of people on here that just play Twitter. They don't care about no games. They don't care about that stuff. Angel Perez says, D. Batman and Robin duo. Warner Brothers on board with Xbox. That is going to be a topic we're going to talk about. Darth Paxton says, "Hey, sweet love and marry kill. Supermassive Quantic Dream Dontnod." Those are all independent studios maybe Xbox might be working with. Well, we know they're working with Dontnod. But yeah, and we got one from James Moore. Xbox should invest into a commercial game engine as a response to PlayStation investing in Epic. The interesting thing about that is it's weird. We'll talk about it because this is a topic, but really quickly, I did see some people saying that Sony now owns Unreal Engine 5 for their $250 million investment, which was basically 1.5% of Epic.
I think Microsoft has a bigger stake in Facebook. So, like, by that logic, Microsoft owns Facebook.
And I'm like, hey, don't ever look at who owns Havok and what PlayStation games use Havok as their physics engines.
Oh God, yeah,
because it would blow your mind.
And Simply Gone.
Yeah, Simply Gone. So, with all that kind of out of the way, we're gonna talk about the games we've been playing. Make sure you hit the like button and all that stuff. And then we'll get to the topics. We're going to be talking about the showcase, July 23rd, the big rumor about Xbox and WB Games, the smart delivery information, Sony investing in Epic, Tencent taking over the world, as Jez tweeted out. Is Tencent coming, Jez? Are they going to own everything eventually? Because it certainly seems like they're coming for the video game universe. They got their hands in everything, right?
Yeah, it's a bit scary.
It's a bit scary
what Tencent are doing.
Yeah, so before we get into all that good stuff, what have you been playing, Jez? I know you're feeling better, which is amazing. You were playing something before we we started the show. And I'm not sure if you said you could talk about it, but maybe you could, but I don't remember.
Well, first of all, before we get into that, I just want to say thanks to everyone for the well wishes and the get well soon messages and all the DMs and all the ats on Twitter and stuff. I haven't been able to reply to all of them because there were just so many, but I really appreciate it. It really did keep me going. Like I was pretty sick, so thanks to everyone for that. But as for games I've been playing, I've been playing a bit of World of Warcraft Shadowlands Alpha, which is ongoing, interesting, lots of cool new features coming to that. So pretty excited to get back into WoW because there hasn't been any new content for a while. Everyone's just waiting for the expansion now. All the cities in WoW are dead. Everyone's sort of taking a break from the game, waiting for the next expansion. Happens every time. But other than that, Rand, I've been playing the new Super Hot game. Have you seen this?
Super Hot, like Delete or something? Is it called?
can't remember the exact title. It's something like Super Hot Control Alt Delete or something like that. I'm just gonna look it up real quickly because I don't want to get the name of the game wrong. But oh yeah, Mind Control Delete is a new Super Hot game. It's like a standalone DLC sort of thing. If you own the original Super Hot, you get this for free. It's basically a ton of new levels and with an upgrade system. Like the old game didn't really have an upgrade system or anything like that. Loads of new weapons and another again with the creepy sort of fourth wall breaking storyline and stuff like that. Plays exactly the same though. You know, it's still Super Hot. Move time as you move. You know, puzzle shooter sort of thing. Really love it. I love the original, and this one seems pretty damn awesome as well. But other than that, I was like, I didn't really feel like playing anything. I was just kind of lying down in bed most of the time. Like I tried playing a bit of the new Diablo season, because they do the seasonal thing where you do a bunch of challenges and you can get some like extra rewards and that are only available for that season sort of thing. So I did a bit of that, but like honestly, I just didn't. I didn't like sitting up for any period of time. I was like doubled up in bed in pain most of the time. So that's all I've been playing really is Super Hot. And I only started playing that today. But man, I'm gonna try and start clearing some of my backlog because it's getting a bit crazy, my backlog there around. I might like ask people on Twitter what backlog game I go and play first.
You should do that. You should put a poll of the 4 games you want to play on Twitter and let them decide which one of those is the game you play next.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. So basically, Super Hot is if you like the original game, like I really like Super Hot, and I'll like this like kind of expansion or second game or whatever. Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good, because I do like Super Hot quite a bit. Super Hot. So I played a couple games this week. I'm kind of waiting for Ghost of Tsushima next week. I hear it's a long game, which is good. Open world. I am. You know, like I kind of like Sekiro was my favorite game of last year. I don't expect it to be that hard, but like I kind of digging the Japanese vibe and the samurai and of course the stealth elements. We don't get a lot of stealth games anymore, unfortunately. So I'm really looking forward to Ghost of Tsushima. But this week I played and you're gonna laugh, Jez, but please don't laugh. I know you'll laugh, but I tried out mainly because of peer pressure, because of my friends. I'm blaming Loveboat Gopher and I'm blaming Mr. Black Magic. I played the technical beta for Hyperzone, I believe it's called Hyperzone, which is
isn't it Hyperspace?
Hyperspace. There we go. Yeah, Hyperspace, which is the new free-to-play battle royale from Ubisoft.
Isn't any good? No,
Hyperscape. There we go. I couldn't even remember the name. Hyperzone, Hyperspace, Hyperscape. There we go.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it was a fun time. It's they do some very interesting things, very interesting spins on the battle royale universe, which I'm a big fan of. Like I played PUBG for 800 hours. I played Modern Warfare Warzones for like 300 hours. I put about 100 hours in Apex Legends. I really enjoy Battle Royale, mainly because like my friends really enjoy it too, and I like playing multiplayer with them when we get the chance, and it's always nice to have the full group want to play something. So I played it with them on my PC, because it's only on PC. And I will say it's like the first PC game I ever played, Jez, because normally I only use this bad boy to render videos in Premiere Pro.
Your PC is so wasted.
It is. Like, and I mean,
PC. You could play like Metro Exodus with ray tracing or something. And there you are, just like using it for editing videos. I
use it to edit videos, and I use it to basically watch YouTube. I don't even use it to really play on PC. And you know what's interesting is I was talking to Dealer last night. He's trying to convince me to spend like $2,000 on a new PC. He's trying to like, you need to upgrade, because I bought this in 2017 and it's got an i7 7700K and it's got a 1080 in it. He's trying to like be like, okay, Rand, we need to upgrade you. You need to get like a Ryzen 3950X, and you need to get a 2080 Ti. He's trying to spend my money, Jez. He's being like, you need to spend like $2,500 on this PC, and I'm like, Dealer, I'm not going to be playing video games on it, Well,
why don't you like spend that kind of money on me so I can have a PC?
But don't you have a good PC?
I got a RTX 2060 laptop. It's like it's decent, but it's like it's not super pleasant. Like I'd rather just play games on my Xbox than
Yeah.
because it gets so hot, man. Like you could if you like running the game at 1080p on like Ultra or something. Like I was playing Gears Tactics on Ultra at 1080p. You could fry an egg on my laptop. It's getting that hot. So it's
Yeah.
like I, I just I don't know. I need a real PC, not this laptop thing. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
so shout out to Splatman. He says, got super hot in Oculus Quest VR. So good. Yeah, people, my buddies who played Oculus, or played super hot in Oculus, like, love it. We got Sin Vendetta. He says, Ranjez, this would probably be an impractical with both of your schedules, but would you both consider doing a live reaction to the Xbox July event?
What
I
is it for?
what time is it? It's like
It's on the 23rd.
yeah.
I could swing that if you could swing that.
I honestly don't like doing live reactions. I just like watching the show
And
and
enjoying
just
it.
enjoying it. I don't like
Fair enough.
having to like be, like on and be like, oh, we're gonna, I don't know. Like I'm not very like a very good person to like, they got the reaction channels out there for when people upload trailers and they get all like excited and shouting and stuff. Like I would be the worst because I just kind of watch it stone faced and be like,
I always like
know.
I always remember like when Maximilian dude react to Killer Instinct being announced.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the best reaction video I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and
Like after seeing that, like you don't even need to see any other reaction videos.
Yeah.
That was the best one. It's just ended reaction videos, but
Plus, I think reaction videos are useless without face cams. If it's just people talking over it, so I don't really have a good face cam. So it's like maybe one day when I do, we can do that, but not right now. LM Menopino says, Rand, any chance we could get a teaser announcement for another Ori game at the showcase event? I would say 0%. I don't think Moon Studios is working with Xbox anymore. I think they have a different publisher for their new game, and I think they're probably done with Ori as a franchise.
Yep. If I think I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see any more Ori. The story kind of concluded pretty definitively, didn't it?
It sure did. Yeah.
So yeah, who knows? Hopefully, because it's a really cool little franchise. But I don't know. No, I don't think there's any immediate plans for that.
KY Bob says, I have an interesting question for you too. With Sony now being a minority holder in Epic Games, do they still have to pay for the Unreal Engine license, or do they just get to use it? Well, isn't the Unreal Engine license pretty much free at this point?
No, it's not free for corporations. It costs tons for a big corporation. I don't think this means Sony gets it for free by any means. I think it just means like they get to work more closely on some things. They get a seat at like meetings and stuff like that. It's kind of like how Microsoft does a lot of work with Facebook because Microsoft has a similar minority stake in the Facebook corporation. That's like a legacy thing. And like we often see things like there's an Instagram app for Windows 10 and Microsoft did all the Facebook gaming things with Mixer and stuff like that. I don't think those things would happen if Microsoft didn't have a stake in Facebook. I don't think there'd be an Instagram app for Windows 10 if Microsoft didn't have a stake. So it gives them some room to maybe do some special partnerships and stuff like the tech demo.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. It's not going to hinder Xbox. Like you got to remember that Xbox like is a major purchaser of Epic Games Unreal Engine. So,
well, yeah.
Like pretty much all their games use it.
Does any of like Sony's first party even use Unreal Engine? I think maybe the only one that does is maybe Days Gone, if I remember correctly. Maybe Sony Bend used it for Days Gone, but Naughty Dog uses their own engine. Guerrilla uses the Decima engine. I forget what Sucker Punch uses, but for the most part, I think most of Sony's studios all use their own internal engines. Now, maybe that could change, but I don't see that happening. So,
Epic Games also has some very powerful networking tech, which they use for Fortnite. You don't really think about it much, but Fortnite's actually a pretty complicated game. to run as well as it does, even though it looks like, you know, a Pixar movie. There are some like special cloud stuff that Epic Games has as well, which might be of benefit to Sony strategically. But I don't know. It's but I don't think it's going to hinder Xboxes anyway.
No, I don't think so. Christopher Hart, the Sony dude. I see this guy always in the Iron Lords podcast talking about PlayStation, how they're going to dominate. He says Sony getting Epic is huge news. Yeah, sure. I mean, Sony giving them $250 million and getting 1.5% of Epic is huge news for Epic. Not so much for Sony, but either way, thanks for the support. And Beaner 8127 says MS should at least try to get NetherRealm or ensure Street Fighter 6 is multi-plat. Sony won't try to make it exclusive if Microsoft's going to take away Injustice and Mortal Kombat. We'll talk about all that stuff in regards to Warner Brothers in a little bit. So back to Hyperspace, right? That's the name of the game, Hyperspace, I believe. It's actually a lot of fun. Hyperscape. I forget this. Hyperscape. There we go. It's actually a lot of fun. It's kind of like you're like plugged into a Matrix like thing, and it's a digital world. And the way like the world breaks down as like the circle enclosed, it's not a circle. They just kind of get rid of these sectors. It's really fast-paced, especially in comparison to the other battle royales. They have like these things called hacks, which are abilities. So you have an ability that like shoots you up in the sky, or turns you into a giant ball, or turns you invisible. So that kind of separates it from all the other kind of shooters or the battle royale games. I know Apex Legends has abilities, but they're kind of tied to characters. This one, the abilities are like scattered throughout, and the way you like upgrade weapons is like. You'll find like a minigun, right? And it's like level 1. But if you find another minigun, you can fuse it, and then it becomes level 2. And you find another one, it becomes level 3. And every time you do it, it'll increase its ammo count and then do more damage. So the game kind of removes that whole like inventory management that PUBG has. But one of the cool things about it is the way it does the revive system. Usually, in BR you die, you're done. But that kind of changed with Apex Legends, where people could pick up your card and call you back in. Then Modern Warfare had it where if you died, you go to the gulag and you fight to come back. And if you do, you're back in the battle, or your teammates can buy you back. This game, you can come back as many times as you want as long as there's a spot for you to come back in. So when you kill another player, their like portal to the world is open. And if someone's dead on your team, all they got to do is go into that spot where that player died, and you can revive them. So there have been games where like I died 5 times, but got revived five times. So all you got to do is find another spot where another player died, and that's your revive point. It's really cool. It's only on PC. There's rumors that it's launching on July 12th for the Ubisoft Forward thing, like right afterwards. But it is coming to console. I think they said this summer. So I'll definitely be interested to play that on console when it does come out. So that's what I played. I played quite a bit of it, mostly every night during the beta.
I don't like battle royale games because the whole inventories thing, and having to wait a million years after you die and stuff like that. But that sounds like it's more something that might appeal to me. So
because you're always doing something, whether you land, you get your guns, and even if you die, you're not watching because you're spectating. You run around and you can still do good things for your teammates. You can mark players, so you're running around. You can tell your teammates where people are. You can mark them. You can be like, oh, there's a weapon over here if you need to upgrade. And then when you find a spot where someone died, you can get revived back in. So it really kind of keeps you involved into the flow of action, where like the other battle royales kind of like you die, you're out. You know what I mean? So that was really cool. So that's what I played, and as the other game I played was the one that is currently being showed on screen right now, is The Messenger, which finally came to Xbox because it was out on Switch and PC, then eventually came to PlayStation. It's out on Xbox, came to Game Pass day one. It's a retro kind of like 8-bit, also kind of 16-bit. There's this kind of cool mechanic that you get later on. Dude, it's fantastic. This game is great. If you like those kind of 8-bit side-scrolling games, you have to play this. It is so freaking good, Jez. Like, just kind of look at some of the footage right now that's playing, and you'll like it controls so good. The music is phenomenal. Like, I really, really like this game. I think The Messenger is incredible.
Going to buy it then. I trust you.
Well, you don't have to buy it. I mean, it's in Game Pass, but hey, you do you. It's
Oh, it's
really
in Game Pass.
yeah. It came to Game Pass day one. So
Why is everything in Game Pass? It's just crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, okay,
Melweezy
fine.
says The Messenger is a spiritual successor to Ninja Gaiden. And it kind of does look a little like that. So I really like the game. I highly recommend it. Shout out to Dirt Griggity, who I will be on his show. We Bleed Green Monday after the Xbox showcase on July 23rd. He says, "Will Xbox fans that stuck around through this underwhelming generation be able to flip the bird to those flip floppers after July 23rd?" I would imagine like you're basically saying that is the show going to be good enough, or like a lot of the people that left are going to be like, "Can we come back?" And Dirt's like, "Hell no, you can't come back." You tweeted out that you're really, really excited for the showcase coming up, Jez.
I am really excited for the showcase.
Is it because you're just excited, or is it because what you're hearing from your from your sources behind the scenes is getting you excited?
A bit of both. I don't know like the full layout of the show, but the little fragments that I've heard here and there has got me pretty excited, man.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then we have one from Woogerman. I always see Woogerman tweeting on Twitter all the time. He's a good dude. Make sure you follow Woogerman on Twitter. Phil Spencer mentioned in the last couple of interviews that All Access will be critical for the launch of Xbox Series X. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, like, we live in a time period of super economic uncertainty. I just saw some report where like 30% of the people couldn't pay their mortgage or their rent for their housing this past month.
Jeez.
And it might only get worse. So you want to be able to offer something as cheaply as possible, and subscription plans work, especially if they're low price. Now, Series X will probably be on All Access, but I would imagine if that system's $500, that the asking price will probably be like $40 a month, maybe $35 a month, so a little expensive. But if Microsoft can loss lead on Lockhart, sell it for $299, but then offer it in Xbox All Access for like $20 a month, like, hey, for $20 a month, you can get Xbox Series S and 2 years of Game Pass, and Game Pass comes with all these games, and it's only $20 a month. I think a lot of people might be like, you know what, I can afford that. I can afford $20 a month. I don't have a TV that does 4K right now, so I don't need the Series X. Or I don't really care about that, you know? Oh, okay, inside scoop.
Well, I've heard that, like, do you remember when that Xbox One launched in 2013? Mm-hmm. And when there was this big contentious issue over the fact that they only launched in a small subsection of the typical Xbox markets. Like, they didn't have Xboxes available in every market, or nowhere near as many markets as Sony did with the PlayStation. I've heard that that's going to be different this gen. I've heard that it's going to be a global simultaneous launch in every market that Xbox is currently in, which is going to be a vastly different landscape to what the original Xbox was in. And also, Xbox All Access will be expanding to as many markets as possible as well. Which is like, when you go on Amazon right now, it says Xbox All Access is all sold out because they sold through the stock of consoles because of the pandemic faster than expected. And it's not just consoles either. If you go on like Amazon and try and find a headset, for example, like all of Turtle Beach's stock is sold out. Like a lot of like gaming things have just sold out because they had like a set amount they wanted to manufacture, and they just, they all sold out. But it's when they all come back online, they've got like new consoles to sell, and Xbox All Access will come back online. It'll be on Amazon, it'll be on Best Buy, it'll be on like all these different platforms, and it's going to be pretty filmic.
It will be pretty filmic. So we got another super chat here that I am getting to. Sillar18 says, hope everyone is having a very filmic day. Also, Mr. Rand, how are the Ferrari payments going these days? Haven't heard about it in a while. Yeah, Jez says I have a Ferrari, because of my YouTube millions. That is the furthest thing from the truth. I would love to have.
We've got 2 Ferraris.
I would love to have Jez's Windows Central millions. You know, for just writing some articles and editing some stuff. It's got to be pretty easy. You know what I'm saying? You know, let me just write some words and okay, maybe you missed a word here. It should be big. Give me my millions.
Oh man. Oh man.
And BM James 12 says thoughts on Phil's comments on games releasing on current gen but not holding back Xbox Series X versions. I'm torn on this myself. Did you see that interview today, Jez?
I did see the headlines, but I actually didn't read it myself.
Yeah. He basically said that exclusives are counter to what he thinks video games should be. Like their strategy of releasing, a game or whatever on both platforms and is like what gaming's about, like inclusivity and all that stuff. Like I don't exactly have the quote in front of me, and he's very passionate about him. And if you know Phil, 100% he believes that, right? Because I've talked to him about that. Like he does believe that, and I know people will point to it like, oh, well, he's being a hypocrite because if he truly meant that. Then Hellblade 2 or whatever will be on PS5 if he wanted it, if he really meant that it should be everywhere or whatever. Or look at his comments about Halo 4 where he said, like, the benefits of a game being exclusive to the platform and stuff. And it's like, I get that, but at the time, like, Halo 4 came out, he was just head of studios. You got to go along with what the talking points that your boss put out for you, like Don Matrick. I mean, Phil is also one of those people that was talking about, the Xbox One DRM when it launched. You can't really go against your bosses at that point, but now he is the boss. So,
yeah. And,
like, I know the guy.
When you're in a big company and you're part of a team, you all have to pull together in the same direction, If you're trying to sell a product, you have to pull together in the same direction. You can't just be like, I'm going to be a rebel and go against what my boss says. You just can't do that.
Yeah, so I know he 100% believes it because I know the guy, and now he's in a position where like he can enact policy for it, and I think there's other reasons why like the games are cross-gen, and I think at some point the cross-gen will end, but they'll still, if you have an Xbox One, you'll still be able to play Hellblade 2 because it'd probably be streamable on xCloud and you can play that on your Xbox One.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, even if when the Xbox One S dies, they'll just become xCloud nodes, So it's like they won't be leaving anyone behind, even when GameCore takes over as the main way of developing games, because the Xbox One won't have GameCore, but it will have xCloud. So even if you don't want to upgrade to next gen consoles, potentially you'll still be able to stay in the ecosystem.
Yeah,
which is more what he's talking about when he says stuff like that.
Well, I got to give a big shout out to the 1,400 people that are already watching the show. We really appreciate each and every one of you here. If you're enjoying it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if it's your first time here. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you stick around. I know the channel's been growing a little bit here lately, been making a lot more videos. People seem to like it, so more people are discovering the channel, which is always great, which means more people can discover the Xbox 2 podcast, Jazz, than the Filmic podcast. The most filmic podcast around, as Jazz would like to say.
It's really funny how this whole filmic thing is taken off.
Yeah, you love it. You absolutely love it. So
we're gonna end up building up our own memes.
I know, right? Let's see. Let's transition from the games. So I recommend The Messenger. I can't wait to learn more about Hyperscape. We're going to be talking we got Xbox Game Showcase.
You got the name right.
I know, finally, the fourth time. So I did talk about Hyperscape, so I'm going to start with Ubisoft because a game leaked from them today, and there is some predictions, and we have for the Ubisoft show. So Far Cry 6, Jez, leaked today from the PlayStation Network, of all places. It seems like Microsoft and Sony are kind of leaking games back and forth. Like, Microsoft leaks Kingdoms of Amalur, and then Sony leaks Far Cry 6. Are you interested in Far Cry 6, just judging from kind of the key art?
Judging from the key art, like, I'm a huge fan of Breaking Bad. I'm a huge fan of Gus in particular. So
hmm
that fact alone is really hype. And also Far Cry is Far Cry's become a game that's defined by its villains over time. Have you noticed that?
Yes, very much so.
So
It is very much about the villains. Like Vaz set the tone in Far Cry 3. Far Cry 4 was I don't even really remember, to be honest with you. I think Troy Baker played somebody, and I don't really remember, which maybe is why I don't really remember Far Cry 4. But Far Cry 5 was that Joseph Seed and his family, and those were all great. So yeah, you're right. The Far Cry is kind of defined by the villains, and he's gonna be an excellent villain, right?
yeah. And I saw an interesting tweet from man, I can't remember his name. I really feel bad about that. But someone basically noticed that the kid that Gus has in the picture has a little scar above his eyebrow, which might imply that it's a young Voss, like a prequel sort of thing.
That would be incredibly interesting. I did see that tweet as well, and I think didn't the voice actor for Vaz say he might come back? Is this a way?
Yeah.
Will the end of the game basically kind of shift forward in time and show this young character become Vaz?
Yeah,
That would be
interesting. Wouldn't
they
it?
need to do something. Like, here's my thing about this, right? And it's the same. Ubisoft had a bad week because Assassin's Creed Valhalla leaked. Did you see those leaks about the Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, I didn't. I saw that it leaked, but I didn't watch.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't want it. I didn't want to see like this grainy footage because I'm really excited for Valhalla, so I didn't want to ruin it with sort of out of context footage. Because like a lot of people were like DMing me saying, "Oh my god, it's downgraded." And I'm just there like, "Oh man, how can you say that when it's taken off screen? You don't know if it's downgraded. You need to see it. You need to see it properly in all of its filmic 30 FPS glory." But you know, yeah,
Poor,
neither here nor there.
poor Ubisoft. Everything of theirs leaks all the time. It's Far Cry leaks, right? Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay leaks, and then everybody that you see on Twitter is like, this game, it looks horrible, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, it looks exactly like I thought it would look. Hello, what'd you think Assassin's Creed Valhalla was going to be? It's Assassin's Creed Odyssey, essentially, but in a Viking setting. And yeah, it's an early build. I did see a lot of people try to put it out there that, wow, the Xbox Series, like, they were trying to say that this was the Xbox Series X version. Right, trying to say, look how shitty the Series X version is. Like, listen, I knew it was gonna leak because I knew people playing the game. Like, I knew people who had the game and were playing it for, impressions and stuff like that. So guess what? It ain't the Series X version. That was the PC version. But of course, all these haters that got Xbox in their mouth, they can't stop talking about it all day, every day. But it's like, look, don't let the truth get in the way of a good lie, So it's just like those people kept on going on about how it was the Series X version and whatever. But gotta give a shout out to Sin Vendetta. He says, "Man, Rand, I love how you and Jez have just embraced the term filmic. Still waiting for those shirts, Jez. And you have to make T-shirts now."
Oh, we have to make filmic T-shirts.
Yeah, filmic T-shirts. Shout out to Gaming Forte, who's been doing work on YouTube, changing up those thumbnails. Like the new style, buddy. Make sure you guys go check out his channel. Great show, guys. Love the positivity you both have. Although, he's a Destiny fan, though, so I don't know. He does like Destiny, and he plays it all the time. And I always give him and Lord Cognito of ILP crap about Destiny. But hey, if that's your thing, that's your thing. Johnny Patton says, out of all the behind-the-scenes things you guys have heard for the July show, has any of it been a game that has not been speculated about at all? I don't hear everything about it. Like, I just hear a couple things. Like, I'm not someone who claims, like, I literally know the entire show. And if there wasn't a game that was not speculated about, it would be a secret, which I'm sure it is a secret. There are secrets or something. It's kind of a weird thing. But, Jazz, have you heard anything that's for July that's not a game that's been speculated to be there, I guess?
I know that Microsoft's keeping a lot of the show secret, even from its own staff right now. So, if anything does come out, it's going to be, you know, leaked from a very high place. So I think I think a lot of this show probably won't leak. I would say.
Well, you never know. It might.
You never know.
Third parties might leak. Third parties sometimes got loose lips. Loose lips sink ships, right?
That is true, but you know, I'm kind of hopeful that it doesn't leak. I want to be surprised. I want to be, you know, blown away. Like I say, I've only heard like little fragments of the show here and there, like nothing what I'd call like a full blown whole leak of the whole show or anything. I say I know like maybe like 10% maybe of it right now, but I don't know. I'm pretty excited, man.
Pretty excited. And Eric Popowich says, your friendly neighborhood Nintentard here. Apparently Crysis will launch on Switch first. Yeah, Crysis got delayed for next-gen consoles, and then I think they did say that it is coming soon for the Switch, like this month. But maybe that's what the screenshots were on the Xbox Store page were from the Switch version. That would make a lot of sense. I don't know. Like, I'm not really interested that much in Crysis Remastered. I played it on the 360. I kind of would be interested in a new Crysis. Maybe this is what it's all leading up to. But back to the Ubisoft. Are you looking forward to this thing on Sunday, or are you just kind of like we know Far Cry 6 is here, we've seen Hyperscape, I've seen gameplay of Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs Legions, like what are you truly going to surprise me with Ubisoft? Like how do you feel about that?
I want to see the gameplay. Like I want to see how they're going to change it up. I'm hoping, because Ubisoft had that whole thing where they were like, we need to do more to innovate in our games, because they had that whole thing like, you know, the Ubisoft formula, and people were getting sick of it. And, you know, even now I'm sitting there thinking, I didn't even fully finish Far Cry 5. There was just so much stuff in it. Like, what are they going to do to change it up? Like, you know. So I'm curious about, even though, like, I love Gus, the actor, I can't pronounce his name. I've seen it written, but I've never heard it pronounced, so I don't know how to pronounce it, and I don't want to mess it up. But I'm just going to call him Gus. And obviously, I'm hyped about that, but I'll need to see what that gameplay is going to be like, because I really enjoyed Far Cry Primal, the way that changed things up. Even though like a lot of it didn't land perfectly, I just appreciate that they tried to do something different. So I'm hoping that they do try and do something different again, because Ubisoft formula, I'm still feeling fatigued from it.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of their games, and even some of the things that they've mentioned about trying to fix is that a lot of their games are basically the same. They've took all the things from all their games and put it in everything. Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey has all the same stuff as Far Cry New Dawn, which has all the same stuff as Ghost Recon, Breakpoint, and it's just like a lot of their games just feel exactly the same, and I think people are starting to like feel the fatigue of that. And you know, people probably say the same about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and hopefully Far Cry doesn't have it. I don't expect Far Cry 6 to change things up a lot. So the only thing I'm truly interested in with this Ubisoft show is Splinter Cell and Sam Fisher. Is it time, Jez? Is this like, do I get my hopes up, or am I going to tune into the show and see a Splinter Cell mobile game, card game of some kind with Sam Fisher? Am I going to be let down once again? Will Ubisoft just cut my heart out once more?
Maybe it'll be like a Splinter Cell photography game, like Pokemon Snap. Splinter Cell Snap. That'd be sweet. That'd be sweet, buddy.
Sherman Jacob says, please tell Jez to pull some strings and get Forza 1 to 4 brought to back and pat. Pay to renew the licensing. I doubt that'll ever happen.
Ooh, yeah, that's just problematic.
Yeah, that won't ever happen.
That whole licensing thing.
Yeah, the licensings are very tough. Emmanuel A1 says, Lost Odyssey 2 or remake? Please tell us, Rand. I doubt that very much. I know people want Lost Odyssey to return. I just don't really see that happening. So.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so Halo news, Jez. Halo 3 coming to PC on July 14th. And I don't know if you saw the quote from Phil, but last year was their best year ever in terms of revenue on PC for Xbox Game Studio. And that obviously the opportunities come up, and they're interested in more, acquiring more studios for more content. It seems like Xbox Game Studios is rolling. Sea of Thieves still in like the top 5 after being on a month on Steam.
6 weeks now.
Being doing pretty good.
And they were teasing even more new content for Sea of Thieves today as well. Like that Sea of Thieves is like such a redemption story.
Yeah.
Like the way it's launched in this sort of bare bones sort of way, and then just grew and grew and grew and grew, and then captured the imagination of a lot of streamers. So it's been cool. It's been cool to watch that game evolve, even though like I still can't get into myself.
Yeah, my one thing with that, outside of like really no story, even though I know they added it, is the combat's just so bad in that game. Not the ship-to-ship combat. Ship-to-ship combat is amazing, but the sword and the guns, are just awful to use.
I don't like that either.
Yeah. So look out for that. Halo 3 finally on PC July 14th, and then after that, I think they only got Halo 4, so they might have all the Halo games out on PC before Halo Infinite comes. And I was kind of a little bit curious to see if that would actually happen. And then, of course, in their update, Halo Waypoint, they did say that the only game that we know for sure that's going to be at this game showcase is Halo Infinite. And they said we'll see the first look at the campaign. Do you think that means we won't hear anything about the multiplayer, Jez?
They were very specific about it being the campaign, weren't they?
Yes, they were. They were very, very specific about just being the campaign.
So I guess probably not. They could do that separately. Like the fact that like Halo multiplayer is really probably where the real longevity and meat of the game is. So I imagine like they could do that like a separate event that just focuses on the multiplayer, that maybe, and goes really in depth. I think that'd be cool.
I also think they're taking a little feedback for how people did not like the rollout for Gears 5. Because you remember how much backlash they got for going to E3 and showing off Escape instead of the campaign, and then having to kind of shift and show off a trailer at Gamescom right away for the campaign. I think they learned from that and were like, hey, people want to see the campaign. But of course, like you mentioned, Halo's also a huge multiplayer franchise, and there are a lot of people that also want to see what the multiplayer is going to do. There's a little bit in me where I'm like, what if they just show the campaign, but then they're like, and as for multiplayer, we'll talk about that later, but you can play it right now. There's a demo on the store or a beta on the store that you can download right now.
That would be fire if they
that
did
would
that,
be.
But
That would be
like,
that.
It's a bit like wishful thinking.
It does. I mean, here's the thing though. They 343 promised after the debacle of Master Chief Collection that there would always be a public beta for every Halo game going forward. They did it for Halo 5 Guardians, which was a year before release, a true beta. Mm-hmm. And if you're thinking, here we are in July, the system Series X may not come out until November, and if the rumors are true, maybe it comes out in October. There's not a lot of space in between doing a beta here. What would be the perfect time to get people hyped? Like, you saw the campaign for Halo Infinite, and you know what? You can go online and fight in the multiplayer right now. And that's kind of the beta and what's going on. I want it to happen because I want to play the multiplayer, and that would be such a great announcement, but we'll see. They have to do a beta at some point, and this would kind of be a big thing. So yeah, that's kind of. I'm going to be making my preview video here soon about what I expect to see at this show, and we'll talk about all that stuff, and it's going to be fun. Christopher McKay says, "What are you hoping for as the just one more thing moment at the end of the July show? Studio announcement or something not on the radar at all?" What do you think, Jez? The one more thing moment. Does somebody come up behind Phil Spencer and tap him on the shoulder? Is it Batman? Does Batman come up and tap Phil on the shoulder?
What if Phil's just dressed up as Batman?
What if Phil opens up the show dressed as Batman? That'd be that. But realistically, would they end the show with the studio announcement? Nah, unless of course it was a gigantic studio announcement. But I couldn't see that.
I think what I can realistically see being the one more thing is a Fable tease.
Yes, I think the show will end on Fable 100%. Unless, of course, Microsoft has like a big, hey, you know what, guys? We heard your feedback, and multiplayer's free on Xbox.
Ooh. Dropping Xbox Live Gold?
Dropping the Xbox Live Gold. You can play multiplayer for free. Now, would you do that as the end announcement, or would you want the end announcement to be Fable and a game?
Yeah, I think like end on Fable, and if they're gonna do that multiplayer thing, open with that. That'd set the tone for the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But that again might be wishful thinking.
No, you never know. You never know.
Never know.
Let's see, what else? We got one from Jeffrey Daniel. Any chance the rumored Mass Effect Trilogy remake could be an Xbox exclusive like the original Mass Effect? I would say the chances of that are 0. And it's not a remake, it's just a remaster. I know a lot of people think it's a remake for whatever reason, but it's just a remaster. In 4K, 60 frames, stuff like that. So you can probably expect that launch sometime this holiday. Sin Vendetta, Rand, you're going to see Sam Fisher in a new Rayman game before you see him in a new Splinter Cell game, right? That is my my fate, probably.
I want to see a new Child of Light of Ubisoft show. I know it's not going to happen, but like
a new Child of Light, that'd be very interesting. It was very good because I remember the developer of that or the creator said like Ubisoft wasn't interested in funding games like that, and judging from the recent output, that's true. Fume says July 14th is Halo 3 on PC and Gears 5 Operation 4. Lots of Xbox stuff going on in July. There certainly is. P. Diddy Puff says no one talking about Compulsion or Undead in July. Well, Jez was talking about Undead. I saw a tweet from you about that.
Yeah, I said I would love to see State of Decay 3 like with super high quality is what would make me really hype more than anything, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be too early. Like this team's still working on State of Decay 2. Like they just announced like an overhaul of the vehicle physics, which is hilarious.
Which is crazy that the game's still getting like significant upgrades a couple years after the fact. Gunstar, shout out to you, buddy. Says, does Rare have a second new game? I think so. You mean like another one outside of Everwild, which we'll see at the show? Like a third game? So they have Sea of Thieves, they have Everwild, and something else? Do you think that's possible, Jez? Like, do you think they're cooking up something there in one of the barns?
Maybe a smaller game, possibly.
Possibly.
Like, if we're imagining that like Everwild's a bigger game, maybe they've got like a smaller project, like a something the size of Battletoads, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of creative people at Rare, as you might imagine. So I could certainly possibly make a smaller game. But I think like with Everwild and Sea of Thieves, like Sea of Thieves content generation seems to be ramping up. It doesn't seem to be slowing down. So like they're trying to grow Sea of Thieves and capitalize on the success they've had on Steam. And also looks like they're going to be trying to make Everwild a pretty significant game too. So I don't know if they've got enough people to make like a third biggish game, but who knows? You just don't know. That's the thing about Microsoft these days. It's like they've been on such a massive hiring spree. Like I follow people from Playground Games, and it feels like almost every day they're advertising some new position at Playground and stuff like that. So
Playground is growing. Rare is growing. A lot of the studios are growing, yeah. Clutchman says, if they continue acquiring studios, 4 AA to AAA games per year is looking more and more likely. And, I mean, it's all about content. It's all about content coming up and who's going to have it and where you can get that content. And that is the battle. That is the battle for everything moving forward. Let's see here. Moving on from that. You know what? Let's talk about smart delivery, because this was an interesting thing that came out, because Microsoft has been talking about smart delivery. They've been kind of nailing it home about how developers and publishers can basically offer like free upgrades for if you're cross-gen, right? Now, this stuff will only really apply for the first couple years of Xbox, new systems. But VGC had an interesting article about this, that next-gen game upgrades should be free, and that Xbox has told developers that they cannot charge players to upgrade their current games to Series X versions as DLC as an alternative to its free smart delivery scheme. Now, what that says to me and how I read that was basically say Ubisoft puts out Far Cry 6, and I know Ubisoft, the Far Cry 6 leak has basically that it's a free upgrade if you get it on PS4 to PS5, but assume that that didn't happen. Well, let me use a different game. Let me just say Batman, the Batman game coming up from Warner Brothers, that they put it out as an Xbox version for Xbox One, but then they say, if you want this upgraded, you got to give us $15. That is what they're saying they cannot do, right, Jez? Like, it can't just be like, so, you give us that. But then they go on to say that companies that work on cross-gen games have been encouraged to offer both current and next-gen versions at no additional cost, either via Microsoft's own smart delivery, which, Cyberpunk is doing. I think Dirt 5 is doing. Smaller games are doing. Microsoft's doing with their own first-party titles. Or publishers' own schemes, like EA has dual entitlement, which is if you buy FIFA or if you buy Madden within a certain time frame, you'll get the other next-gen version for free. But that goes on to say that developers and publishers who choose not to support smart delivery can still offer owners of current-gen games a discount on purchasing a second next-gen version of the game on the Microsoft Store. So third-party publishers could also charge for physical game upgrades via their own schemes, via retailer promotions. And you know what? That is exactly what Grand Theft Auto is going to do in Rockstar, right? They're going to be like, here's this Grand Theft Auto Vive 5 version that's upgraded for next gen. We're selling it separately, but if you own it on the 360 already, you can maybe get it for half price. Do you think that's how they're going to do that, Jez?
Yeah, I would imagine so. This is all because there's just like a push within the industry to increase the price of games, isn't there?
Yeah, the $70 stuff, right?
Yeah, so like how do you manage that shift when you're still selling games on the cross-gen? And that's sort of what I guess a lot of this stuff is about. So like, yeah. It's gonna be annoying for a year or two, but afterwards nobody will care about it.
Well, yeah, because it's the cross-gen stuff's only going to last for a couple years, so it's only really going to be big here this year and maybe next year, and then it'll die off. But
yeah,
the method that 2K is doing, where it's like, well, it says here, Xbox developers who don't support smart delivery have the option of selling 2 game cross-gen bundles in a disc or digital form, which includes a separate Xbox One and Series X version of the game, and that's the method that 2K is doing with 2K1, where they don't offer any kind of upgrade for current gen owners getting into next gen. They're basically saying, if you want both versions, you have to buy this $100 version, and you'll get both. It's kind of a little shady. I think.
Yep. Well, I think like they know that they can get away with that with sports games because for whatever reason, nobody complains about the microtransactions and all that stuff in sports games. So maybe they won't try that with some of their other games. But I could be wrong, or maybe I'm being naive.
Well, Jez, I just want to give a shout out to the 1,540 people that are here, which is, I think, the most we've ever had live watching the show.
That is truly filmic.
So you are all very filmic and beautiful people. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. That would be great. If like we've been doing the show for a while. We've been building up the podcast, the channel, and the community here. It's nice to see people really respond and like the show, isn't it, Jez? Because
it is pretty filmic.
I mean, do you ever think when we started this 3 years ago that we would have 1,500 people watching live to hear what me and you have to say about stuff? A couple nobodies out there. I mean, you're not a nobody. You're the an editor of Windows Central. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just a YouTuber.
Right, a YouTuber with your Ferrari.
Yeah, my Ferraris. Shout out to Mel Weezy. What game do you think Xbox will tease in August? So we're going to talk about that in just a minute, because I did a video about that as well. So smart delivery stuff. Yeah, it seems like Xbox wants them to offer, as free as possible. And to think about it, like it's actually probably in Xbox's best interest monetarily to not offer it for free. It's in Xbox's best interest monetarily to let developers charge for that. Because if they do, Xbox takes a cut. They take a cut. So you would think as a business, Microsoft would much rather resell you their own games. Like, oh, you got Halo Infinite on the Xbox One? Well, pay us again for Halo Infinite on Series X. Or, you know what, EA? You can charge for both because we're going to take money from both of those. We make money on all this stuff. So monetarily, you would think that's what they want to do. But, of course, it's not always just about the money. Sometimes it's about...
Microsoft's key performance indicator isn't money anymore. It's engagement. They just want people, bodies, more people. And like the more people they have, they can hit a critical mass and the money will come afterwards. It's all about that engagement. And it's the same strategy Tencent's using, which I guess we'll discuss in a minute. And Tencent, like, it's just about the engagement right now. Like they're going after games with massive audiences like Path of Exile, and like you never hear about Path of Exile being talked about, but it's like this massive free-to-play game. And, you know, that's the kind of game Tencent want, is because they will just want more people. Because eventually they'll just have this sprawling platform that they can push their streaming service on. And that's kind of the same strategy Xbox is going to go for with xCloud.
Yeah. Zero PC says, do you think we'll see Beyond Good and Evil 2 soon? I hope we see it at the Ubisoft show, but there's rumors that it's really kind of hit development hell. A lot of problems with that game, supposedly, so we'll see. And shout out to the friendly neighborhood Blue Shell for Jez using the word filmic and giving me nightmares of 30 frames per second, shooters, races, and fighters for next gen. Puke, puke, puke. Thanks, unhappy devil face. You know, there's a lot of people that don't like that filmic talk, Jez. The 30 frames per second. I'm one of them. But, you know, I've come to embrace the filmic meme, but not what the filmic stands for, because I don't want 30 frames per second. I want that
the
smooth 60 frames, you know?
Yeah.
I know, because you know what I said? You know what I said to Jez the other day? I'm like, man, I can't wait to play these 60-frame games on my Series X. And Jez is like, imagine all the jaggies. He's like, I want it in 4K and 30, so I don't have to see those jaggies. And I'm like, oh my god,
damn jaggies, man.
Those damn jaggies. Let's see what's going on here. So you know what? Let's just jump into the Xbox Game Showcase stuff, right? We got the Game Showcase stuff to talk about, the Warner Brothers stuff to talk about, Sony investing, you know, $250 million in Epic. What's Microsoft holding back in August? The PS5 new game cases. Where's the only on PlayStation branding, Jez? Where'd it go? Because it's not on the box no more.
It's almost as if God of War is coming to PC in August.
Wait, are you saying God of War is coming to PC in August? Did you just say that? What is that? Is that inside information? Is God of War really coming to PC in August? Oh my god!
No, just coughing, man.
Oh, just coughing. God of War coming to PC in August.
Just a cough, man. Just a cough.
Just cough.
But
cough.
you know, it's you can't say only on PlayStation if it's not only on PlayStation, can you? And, you know, they are bringing more and more games to PC. So I guess that kind of sets the tone for what Sony's going to be doing. And they're going to make a lot of money on Steam. So it's a good thing for Sony. It's a good thing for PlayStation fans, too, because it means they'll have more money to make more games. So, yeah.
No,
I don't play Horizon Zero Dawn on PC at 30 frames per second for that filmic experience.
For the filmic experience. Now, I'm just gonna say I don't know anything about God of War coming to PC in August. August would be a good time to launch God of War at PC, but I don't know anything about that.
What are you talking about? I was just coughing.
God of War. Anyways, back to Xbox Game Showcase, July 23rd. Microsoft finally announced it on Monday, and surprise, surprise, Jez was right. The week of July 20th, and then you also said the 23rd in your article. Once again, your leaks are impeccable. And always usually mostly right, except for like the career system that Xbox was doing. Still hold that against you.
They were working on that though.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of the features from that career system are now the Game Pass Quest system. So
you know what's funny is that you already have people saying they're gonna tweet out that cough, Jazz, that it was the most informative cough out there, and that you're the source. You're the source for this rumor. So
what rumor? It's just coughing.
Just a cough, whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, so we got the game showcase coming to us on July 23rd. July 23rd at 11 a.m. Yeah, the only game we know for sure, like we mentioned, Halo Infinite's going to be there. We don't know anything else. I wonder if you can kind of fill in the blanks here for us, Jez. Will third party be there?
Yes, third party will definitely be at the showcase. I don't know how big we're talking. I don't know if like we're talking indies or big publishers, but I do know there is a third party contingent to this show.
So do you don't know like how many third parties will be there, or just probably just the marketing partners or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they want to have like some big names there. Maybe like Game Pass tie-ins and stuff like that. Maybe announce some like big games that are coming to Game Pass in the near future from some of the usual suspects, or maybe But I don't know. I don't know the details. I just know that there's third party there.
Okay, so there's third party there, but mostly I would imagine this is going to focus strictly on Xbox game studios, more so than previous like E3s.
Crap.
Like that's kind of a good assumption there. So let me ask you this: like the length of the show. Are we looking at half an hour? Are we looking at 45 minutes? Are we looking at an hour? Are we looking at an hour 15 here? What's your read on that?
I have no idea. I would hope that it's a longer show, like E3 sized. I really missed the fact we didn't have a real E3 this year. Like, it's funny when they said like E3 was cancelled at the start of this year. I was like, oh well, that's the end of E3, But now I'm like, bring it back, please bring it back. I want it back.
There's this. I'm just looking at the games that Microsoft might announce this year, and like Fable. Considering there hasn't been a new Fable in a long time, over like 10 years, that announcement would have brought the roof down from the Xbox fans in attendance. Yeah, because Fable is a beloved franchise. And, if the initiative did show up, which we'll talk about how they probably won't, and if they were doing Perfect Dark and seeing what that game looks like, or even just like starting the show off on the right foot with Halo Infinite, people would have been super pumped. And it's going to be... You kind of do lose a little bit of that without the crowd cheering for some announcements. Like, you lose that moment of Keanu Reeves coming out and telling everybody that they're breathtaking. Or just surprise things that can only happen on a stage and not in a digital format. So you lose some of that. And we've talked about this before, but, like, I really do miss E3. Like, this whole, like, every publisher is going to have their own thing has just kind of been awful. Yeah. It's like the whole like Jeff Keighley Summerfest thing, like I have no issues with Jeff Keighley whatsoever. I like the guy a lot. I like what he's doing with the VGAs, but this whole like Summer Games Fest thing has just not been really good, just because all the announcements are completely spread over the course of time. You have some people announcing stuff in late May, Sony doing early June, EA doing something in like mid-June, Ubisoft doing something in July, Xbox doing something in July. Everybody seems to just be so scattered. And
it's like I was thinking like, God, I'm choking right now. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's like with E3, that there's 2 weeks to watch for announcements. But with this thing, it's like, do I even bother watching this? Is it that important? Is it their E3? Like the branding is off. Like you don't know if these events even matter a lot of the time. Like I never watched the EA event, but like everyone said it was terrible, and I'm sure like E3 was just a great brand to say like, yeah, this is our E3 show. You know what to expect from that. What do you expect from Summer Game Fest? You don't know what to expect from that. I haven't even watched any of them, so I want E3 back. Bring it back, please. Bring it back next year.
Yeah. Julian Silva Jr. says, we know Microsoft will show Series S in August. Will it launch with Series X this year?
We talked about this last week a little bit. We both think there'll be a split launch. So the X launches first, and then Lockhart launches a bit later. Yeah. That's the current rumor. The current rumor is Lockhart is set to launch a little bit later. They won't launch simultaneously. So you launch Xbox Series X for the hardcore, and if you don't want to pay that much, then you can get lockout later on.
I mean, I still think it's going to be a staggered launch. We'll see though. Like I really want Series X now because my One X just sometimes when I play a game, it just sounds like it's going to die. Like I want like when the games start releasing in October and November, I don't want to have to wait and be like, well, I'll just wait for these games and play them on the Series X. Like I want to already have the system.
Yeah, but I'm using a One S right now. Like my One X is in Germany, so I'm here, man.
JD Gamer says, will Sony put their games on Steam or Epic Store? Well, I think Horizon's on Steam right now, but is it also on the Epic Store?
I think they'll probably put them on both. Like they're not going to go exclusive to the Epic Store because that is the opposite of what they want to do. They want to sell the games. Put the game on the Epic Store, they ain't going to sell as much.
So you don't think Sony giving them $250 million is also Sony being like, well, we're also going to put our games exclusively on the Epic Store so we can help build up Epic and get more money from our investment?
Well, I think ultimately Sony investing in Epic is a smart thing to do in general because eventually Epic's going to sell and they're going to sell to Tencent because Tencent already owns half of them. So like Sony will get like a huge return on its investment either way. So that was a pretty safe bet by Sony to invest in them anyway.
Are you okay? Your cough is coming back.
I don't know, man. I'm alright.
You sure? You sure the podcast isn't making you sick?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, I got
something stuck in my throat. Like, I don't know what it is.
Well, if you need to clear your throat, just mute your mic and try to clear your throat. Sin Vendetta says, I honestly haven't bought a physical game since Dark Souls 3 in 2016, so look in the new cases. Game cases don't matter to me at all. And Chaos Might says, have you heard that Sony lost a lot of transactions history where people lost their games with no proof of purchases? I did see people talking about that today, but I haven't looked into it myself. So I don't really know much about that. Like if it was Xbox, I'd be like, looking into that stuff, and I would be talking to the people at Xbox I know, being like, what's the story on this? But yeah, I did see some people talking about that, but I just don't know anything really about it. So back to the game showcase. You just explain to the people why you're so hyped, Jez? Because you talk to me and you get me hyped. And do you want to be the person that's like temper your expectations for the show? Because we've been saying that for a while. Like, and Inside Xbox comes along and it's like, guys, it's Inside Xbox. Don't get hyped. Or like, it's E3 2019. Don't get hyped or whatever. Like, is it time to get hyped for an Xbox show? Like, this is the first kind of, the first footing for next gen. Is it truly time to get hyped as Xbox fans to see what Xbox is doing for the future, or should people hold back?
I don't want to be the guy who says get hyped for it and then disappoints everyone. So
wouldn't that be on Xbox if they disappointed people?
Well, yeah, I guess, but like as I say, I don't know the whole show, so like the things that I do know have got me hyped, but maybe the little things, that's all there is. So I think tempering your expectations for any show is always a safe bet. But I personally, I'm letting myself get excited for this one just based on the little fragments that I've heard. So if I'm disappointed, that's my own fault. But it's up to you whether you want to get hyped. I personally am deciding. I'm making the conscious decision to get hyped. So Microsoft, if it's disappointing, you're going to disappoint me alone.
Yeah, but now you had like 1,500 people and more gonna listen to this show, and they're gonna be like, "Man, Jez is hyped. I should get hyped too." And then,
oh great!
If Phil Spencer and team delivers a subpar show, they're gonna be like, "You know what? Jez from Windows Central said I should get hyped, and it was bad." And I feel the same way as you. Like, I don't want to tell anybody how they should think. Or how they should think. But, like, for me, personally, if you're ever going to be hyped for a show, it's this one. Because what else is there? And if they can't nail this show, then you really can't really be hyped for any shows in the future. Because, like, this is the one. Like, they've been holding off on announcements since, the last couple years. It's always like, wait. Yeah, studios, we bought them. They need time. Sure, okay, I understand that. I'll wait. Well, you're starting a new generation. You can't go back to the wells of, well, here's Sea of Thieves DLC and State of Decay 2 DLC and Minecraft Dungeons DLC, the type of stuff they used to do. It's like people want to see new stuff. They're sick and tired of just only seeing a game that's going to be launching that year and not seeing essentially what Xbox might be doing in 2 years. So me, like you, I'm letting myself get hyped for this. Normally I'd pull back my expectations and be like, nope. I'm setting my expectations low, and if they over deliver, whatever. Like, this one is like, I'm hyped because Xbox needs to nail the show. And if there's ever a show to get hyped on, this is the one. And if they don't realize that, which I think they do, I think they know what kind of position they're in to get people really excited, because that's what I want. I want people to be excited about this upcoming generation. You know, like a lot of people, as I said on Gamertag Radio, they're not going to look back. They're not going to look back fondly on the Xbox One gen. At least I'm not going to look back fondly on it. Like
I am.
Or it was amazing game
hours. I hate
no.
this, man.
That has nothing to do. But that has nothing. PUBG. Me putting 800 hours into PUBG has literally nothing to do with Xbox.
I don't care, man.
No,
this is like that. This is like that meme on Steam where people are like, "This game sucks," and then it comes up with this person has played this game for 1,500 hours. You know.
No, I'm not. No. But that has nothing to do.
I don't care.
PUBG's got nothing to do with Xbox.
Well, I'm just saying you've had fun with your Xbox.
No, I'm not saying I haven't. I'm just saying when I look back about like this gen and then versus the 360, like the 360 gen was much better because Xbox had better games that they did themselves. And sure, when I look back,
remember how PUBG was exclusive to Xbox for like ages.
PUBG because it was a game preview game, and I remember being like, the frame rate in this game sucks and everything looks like Play-Doh, but it's so good because it's Battle Royale. You know what I mean?
Your game of the gen was a timed Xbox exclusive.
No.
PUBG. Deal with it.
PUBG is not game of the gen. Absolutely not. Game of the gen.
It's your game of the gen.
No, game of the gen is goddamn Arthur Morgan and Red Dead Redemption 2 with a very close second with Kratos and God of War, sir.
No, but you put 800 hours into PUBG. So
it doesn't matter how many hours I put into it. I'm telling you. Like, if you would have said, hey, what do you want to play? Red Dead Redemption 2 right away or more PUBG? And you know what I did? I said, screw PUBG. I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, but then you went straight back to PUBG.
Sure, because I finished Red Dead Redemption 2, but that doesn't mean anything.
It means everything.
See, Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War are like the $1,000 meal that you may have once a year or maybe never. It's like you spend that money and the steak is amazing and the lobster is ridiculous and that's that amazing meal. PUBG, as I've explained before in this podcast, and the games like that are freaking $2 McDonald's hamburgers that you go to all the time because that they're super cheap and they're just inexpensive. But those quality things, those are stuff you pay for and you remember. Nobody remembers the McDonald's burger they had last week. That's what PUBG is. That's what Hyperscape is and all the other stuff.
Sounds like you're projecting some kind of insecurity.
I'm not projecting any type of insecurity.
I will look back fondly on this gen, actually. Because I've had so much fun playing Monster Hunter and stuff like that. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying there weren't great games this gen. I'm talking about like from Xbox. Like, I don't think they had a great gen, and it's time to like kind of start this new one off. Great. So,
but leave the last gen. I don't care about any of their exclusives last gen either, really.
Halo 3, Gears.
I don't care about Halo. I don't care about Halo. All the best games on Xbox last gen were multiplayer. Your Dragon Age Origins, your Mass Effects, all my favorite games last gen were multiplayer, and so I don't know.
I mean, yeah, whatever. We're moving on from that. Oh, you're getting me heated here, Jez. Shout out to the friendly neighborhood Blue Shell. It's official. Rand told us to be hyped. Time to get hype. Hope the Xbox show is good because the first major show of the generation is the most important and sets the tone for the entire gen, just like 2013. It's not. It is really important. It's usually not the best one. Like even you look at like Sony's, theirs wasn't the best in 2013. Their best one was, you can argue, 2015 when they had the show of dreams or the E3 of dreams where they showed off Shenmue 3, which ended up being absolutely terrible. The Last Guardian, which people liked but didn't love, essentially, and Final Fantasy VII Remake, which just came out this year, so 5 years later, and people did end up liking that game. But their E3, the one that set expectations that got people hyped, was 2016 when they showed off God of War and Spider-Man and Days Gone and Detroit Become Human and all that stuff. And Splatman says, thought this July show was meant to be a mic drop moment. As long as they announce Fable and show plenty of gameplay on other games, I'll be happy. I mean, people use a lot of hyperbole when describing stuff, like insiders or rumors, like mic drop. I think the mic drop stuff was from that one guy that said Lockhart would be $199, which I never believed. Like, $199? There's no way. There's no way that system is $199,
No, I don't think that's $199.
That would be a mic drop moment.
That'd be some kind of magic.
You know what would be a mic drop moment?
They conjured the parts. They conjured the parts with alchemy. That's how they get it down to that.
You know what would be a mic drop moment? Xbox coming out there and being like, Xbox Live Gold is gone, baby. Multiplayer is free. Or you know what? Mic drop moment would be Cyberpunk 2077, day one Game Pass. So when you buy Series X, you have Halo Infinite and Cyberpunk waiting for you the moment you plug your system in. Those would be a mic drop moment.
Crazy.
That would be a mic drop moment.
I like the idea of Cyberpunk being day one in Game Pass is would be so massive, because that's like CD Projekt Red basically saying we have so much faith in Game Pass that we're gonna risk our sell through by putting it into Game Pass. That's or Microsoft would have spent loads of money on it or something. That'd be huge. But they've got the data that says that Game Pass helps the sale of games through virality. So
yeah. So here's the thing. I think that is the next thing they need to tackle with Game Pass. They need to see what the data would show of getting a big AAA third-party game that is really hyped by people into the service. Doesn't matter how much it would cost. And let's be honest here, anybody that would do that, CD Projekt Red, Capcom, Ubisoft, or whatever, would want the truckload of money.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, you need to see if it's worth it. Cyberpunk is essentially, outside of Last of Us 2, the most anticipated game that's going to come out. And if you were to somehow do that and get that game day one into Game Pass, you could blow up the whole service. Like, people could subscribe out the wazoo to play that. Maybe it's the platform where people actually then decide to play Cyberpunk because of it, and Series X and Lockhart really kind of swell, and people kind of move towards the platform. And then just to get that data on, number one, is it worth it to go after these big titles day one? And number two, how much is it going to cost? Is it worth whatever we paid for it? Is it worth just throwing a number out there? No idea how much, CD Projekt Red. If you're Microsoft and you go to them, you're like, we want it day one in Game Pass, and they'd be like, well, no, because we want to sell the copies. Fine, what's your number? Because there's always a number. Be like, well, we think we would sell 10 million copies on Xbox at full price. Okay, here's a check for $700 million. That you need to make that deal.
Great mathematics right there, man.
I'm just saying, here's a check for $700 million. Granted, it's not my money, but if you want to make Game Pass the Netflix of gaming, you want to blow that subscription service up, you need to see if that type of game for that type of money is worth it. Because if you never do it, you'll never know. I mean, that would be a mic drop moment. I mean, there's a lot of games that Microsoft could announce. Fable. I do wonder how much, the rumors about Fable. Well, then again, most people watching this probably aren't really up to date on rumors. So I think a Fable announcement would still be a surprise to a lot of people. We assume that most people know about Fable, but it's not really. Most people don't follow, YouTubers that talk about Xbox or Xbox news really that closely and stuff like that. So, my
stepbrother really, really liked Fable as a kid, but he never I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have heard of any of these rumors about it. But if he heard it was announced, he'd probably be like, oh wow, I used to play that. So Yeah, that's interesting. But on your other mic drop moment that you mentioned, dropping the fee for Xbox
Mm,
Gold
mm.
Live, whatever, that would be huge because I don't think Sony could respond to that very easily.
Well, I don't think Sony would want to do anything again. Like, Sony makes a ton of money from PS Plus, and that's like integral to their business and their revenue streams moving forward. And you would think if Microsoft did do that, which I think they will at some point. I think they do want to remove the paywall because it's gonna like especially when XCloud comes out and it's like, hey, you can play multiplayer free streaming, you can play multiplayer free on the PC, but if you're on console, you got to pay for it. Sorry, the optics are gonna look worse and worse. Like there is a little.
It stopped making sense.
There is a like even right now, Sea of Thieves doing huge on Steam. None of those guys have to pay for Xbox Live Gold for multiplayer to play that game. Why do Xbox console users? It doesn't look good. And I understand why you did it before. And even when I talk to people at Xbox about it, they're always like, well, Xbox Live Gold subsidizes the console. It helps us being able to sell the console at the price it is. And I'm just like, okay, sure. Maybe it does. I don't know the business model behind it. But like, I don't know, like, you're putting all your stuff on PC, which I'm fine. Like, I don't care. You put all your stuff on PC day one. But it definitely seems like, man, it's like, so they don't got to pay for gold. And then you want to do crossplay, forcing Xbox users to play with people with, some would argue, a superior input method or a better input method. And then the people on Xbox then have to pay to access to play that game. It's like,
I think, like, back in the day, before Microsoft had, like, before cloud was integral to all of Microsoft's business, it was kind of like the gold Xbox Live Gold was like this really necessary thing to have the dedicated servers to run all the updates and stuff like that. Because we take it for granted now, but like back in the day, Microsoft used to charge thousands of dollars just to drop an update on your game. That's why, like on the 360 era, a lot of games just didn't get updated because it was too expensive, for some of the smaller publishers. But that was just a case of the way, they didn't have this massive cloud infrastructure back then, so they had to subsidize it. But now they've got like a bajillion, million, trillion servers all over the place. It's starting to become redundant, Like the big businesses are paying for Azure now, not Xbox Live Gold subscribers. You got businesses paying tons of money for like all these cloud services and cloud systems on Azure. You don't really need that Xbox Live Gold to subsidize that cloud anymore. So it's the landscape's completely changed. And it's like you say, like if they're all about access and their key performance indicator is engagement, dropping that paywall is going to be like a big catalyst, because not only does it let more people flood into your network, especially on streaming services and PC, and it also gives you a very powerful differentiator from Sony, where it's kind of like, well, Sony, you have to pay to play online with Sony, and you don't have to pay to play online with Xbox. So, that would be huge if they did that for me.
What's interesting is that the thing we were talking about with Cyberpunk, Jeffrey Grubb just put out an article. CD Projekt Red has no Game Pass plans for Cyberpunk 2077. He says here, Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the biggest games coming this year for consoles and PC, but one platform it's not headed to anytime soon is Microsoft's Game Pass. That's according to developer CD Projekt Red lead PR boss Radek Grabkowski. During conversation on Twitter, I used Cyberpunk 2077 as an example of a big name game that Microsoft could potentially try to get on Game Pass soon after release. That prompted a reply from Grabowski. Quote, "You have to pick another example," Jeff reads his message. "No Game Pass plans for Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, well.
So no plans for that. Although, would he know the true plans of Cyberpunk 2077?
Radek, he would know.
He probably would know. Or maybe they don't want to ruin the surprise.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Either way,
I mean, that's the thing. Like,
it was a pipe dream, anyways. Regardless,
I wouldn't. that's the thing. It's kind of like that's the thing that would, if it leaked, that's the kind of thing that would affect the pre-order sales of your game, right?
Yeah, it definitely would.
Everyone would be like, oh well, I'm not going to pre-order it then. I'll just wait for it to come on Game Pass. So that's the kind of thing you really don't want to leak. But I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. I just wanted to mention that because I saw it. Shout out to Freddie Chavez Tellez. He says, I will not lower my expectations. Xbox has to blow my mind with Series X with the $400 price tag. Well, I don't think you'll get a $400 price tag for Series X, so prepare to be disappointed on that one, buddy. And JD Gamer says, people get caught up on exclusives. It's become a meme, and they forget that a platform holder's main job since they've begun has been to curate games under the platform, and that's where we failed. But Xbox 360 won, and where Xbox Series X will too. And VSim says, the promotion of upgrading Xbox Live Gold at Game Pass Ultimate, I think, points to their future plans. So thank you guys for all the support. Means a lot to us. So yeah, I guess if you want to stay on to Mike, this won't happen. This one, because I see people already kind of putting their conspiracy hats on, like Jez. Okay, so Microsoft's events on July 23rd. Warner Brothers AT&T has an investor meeting on July 23rd, but later in the day. And Peter Wise works at Xbox now, but he was the head of Warner Brothers Games for 10 years. And, they point to all these scenarios where Xbox is going to announce the acquisition of Warner Brothers Games, which information had come out like a couple weeks ago that AT&T was looking to sell their position in Warner Brothers Games, get out from the $154 million of debt that they're in, sell the division for $4 billion. And the three names that were interested were EA, Activision, and Take-Two. And everybody was like, really? Those three for my Batman games? Like, come on. And people were like, no, right? And then it came out earlier this week from a site called The Information, and everybody in the industry started talking about it, that Microsoft was suddenly interested in Warner Brothers games. And the question is, some people will say that that's just Warner Brothers saying that and leaking information to drive the price up, because if Microsoft is interested in it, and they certainly have the money to do it, that might make EA, Take-Two, and Activision kind of maybe jumpstart their bidding process. If someone else bigger than them is interested, maybe Xbox really is interested in Warner Brothers games. What's your thoughts on all this stuff, Jez?
Well, it's kind of interesting that this information came from The Information.
The Information, yes.
Because it's not really known for game leaks and stuff like that. I think it was Jeff Grubb, and I'm not sure if he was joking, but he said he wouldn't be surprised if they'd seeded these rumors to manipulate the price or whatever. Personally, I don't think Microsoft will buy the package of studios, because the only studio that really makes sense for me out of all of those in terms of Game Pass is
I gotta go somewhere for a couple minutes, so just take some questions and I'll be right back. All right?
Rand's going to the bathroom.
No. Someone's at the door and I gotta go answer it.
Yeah. So thing is at some door. Dudes, let's have some questions then while we wait for Mr. Rand. And the chat is currently catching up, so I am slightly lagged behind. But anyway, I'll finish what I was saying anyway before. I don't think Warner Brothers is worth it, what they're asking. Some of the prices they talked about are $4 billion. And the only studio that really makes sense for me there is NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat. And because that's the game that's really service driven and stuff like that. Rocksteady and Monolith, no doubt, are incredibly talented studios, but they also take a really long time to make games. And that isn't what Microsoft wants right now. They kind of want games that they can pump out faster, which is why the rumors about Microsoft being acquired by Microsoft acquiring Bloober Team, that makes a lot more sense for me, because Bloober Team make games fast with less resources. So yeah, I don't see the Warner Bros. Thing happening personally, but who knows? Microsoft might have a plan for it. They might think we can integrate them here, we can integrate them there, but I don't think they'll pay for Warner Brothers. I think they'll probably think there's better ways to spend that money. So let's look at some of these questions. Jesse takes the stage. Yes, I do. When are we going to see Forza Horizon 5? I don't think you're going to see it this year. I think this will be all about this year. Will be all about motorsport, and then maybe Forza Horizon next year. Jez, do you think Microsoft would ever buy Rockstar Games? No, because they're owned by Take-Two Interactive, so they'd have to buy Take-Two, which is worth a lot of money. I can't see that happening. But who knows? Who knows? You just never know. Microsoft, they have deep pockets, and maybe one day Microsoft will just be like, you know what, screw it. Tencent's up in the stakes. The only way we can take on Tencent is if we really go for it, So that's the issue with Tencent. Tencent's a wild card because they've got infinite Chinese tech giant money, and Microsoft's got infinite, Windows Azure money. So it's really like the battle of the titans here. It's about how much money Microsoft really wants to sink into it, I guess. Jez, were you surprised when the announcement came out about Tencent buying Leu? Nope, not at all. Tencent's trying to buy everything. Someone in the industry described Tencent 2021 as being the rise of Tencent. Apparently, Tencent, they're doing a streaming service. They're going to be making a console, all this sort of stuff. Tencent's going to be serious competition for Sony and Microsoft in 2021. It's a bit spooky indeed. Jez, when will Rand play Pokemon with you? I don't know. Rand just doesn't like Pokemon. He's kind of mean like that. Jez, do you think Microsoft would buy a Japanese studio? I do think they would buy a Japanese studio, but it kind of has to be the right game and the right, scenario. A lot of things would have to line up for Microsoft to do that, I think. Just imagining. It's easy for them to buy UK and US studios because, the culture aligns and all that sort of stuff. And they've already got they've already got infrastructure there. Buying studios is complicated. Will Xbox have a Batman exclusive? PS4 has Spider-Man. Will it happen? I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it will happen. Personally, Jez, do you think we'll see Cuphead DLC on the 23rd? It's possible. That Cuphead thing's been delayed for forever. But at the same time, I think maybe they were focusing on the Netflix series because remember, it's only 2 dudes. So a very small amount of people working on Cuphead. It's hard to say. Jez, what about a Mistwalker acquisition for the supposed Japanese game studio? Get them back making solid JRPGs. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I don't know if Microsoft thinks there's a big appetite for those kind of games on Xbox, sadly. It frustrates me, it really does, because I love classic JRPGs. I love those turn-based JRPGs. And I think they would be perfect for xCloud as well. Because, it's latency agnostic. It doesn't matter if it's a turn-based game, because it's yeah. And Mike with the super chat says, shouldn't Microsoft buy Warner Brothers because of Tencent? I don't think they should buy them just to stop Tencent getting them. If Tencent just wants to buy random studios, then that's their prerogative. Microsoft wants to buy studios that make sense for Game Pass and make sense for rolling content. And if you're buying Rocksteady, you take years to make a game. If you're buying Monolith, which also take years to make a game, that's not really a great proposition for Game Pass where you need games frequently, But I don't know. Maybe they do have games. I mean, when Microsoft buys a studio, they kind of the studio would pitch these are the games that we got in development. And if they've got a cool concept, then maybe Microsoft will buy them. But I have no idea what games they would have in development to try and sell themselves. Jess, is there any ground to the rebranding of the initiative? I have no idea. This rumor came about because the initiative deleted some text from its Twitter accounts and stuff like that. Possible. It's possible they could rebrand, and they could rebrand based on what IP they're going to focus on or something like that. 343 is based on Halo and the Coalition's based on Gears. It's totally possible the initiative could rebrand. I never thought the initiative was a very strong name for a studio. So maybe they just came up with something better. I don't know. Hi, Jez. Could Tencent really compete with so much censorship in China? Well, that's the thing. That like the Western versions of those games aren't going to be censored. Like League of Legends is owned by Tencent, and League of Legends isn't censored in the West. There's Tencent US, and they're not going to censor their games for Western audiences potentially, but you have to wonder, like, because Tencent is a Chinese company, and the government there are dictators and evil, you know, basically, you have to wonder how much of that would trickle through to their games, like that's a genuine concern. I think. I don't think that's a paranoid thing I don't think that's a paranoid thing. When you read about what the Chinese government's doing to its people in China, it's kind of spooky to think that such a massive tech company out of China is getting so involved in Western cultural properties. Like what's that propaganda going to look like? So it is what it is. Tencent is growing massive, and it's kind of spooky. Logic Gaming says, "Who is Tencent? By the way, never heard of them." That's the thing about Tencent. That's another thing that bothers me about Tencent is the way that they're just working in the background. Nobody really knows who they are, but Tencent owns a lot of stuff. Like Tencent own all the Riot games, so they own League of Legends. League of Legends is the biggest esport in the world. Tencent own WeChat and a bunch of social networks, which are, rival Facebook in size, and you don't hear about any of this stuff. You just don't hear about it. So yeah, Microsoft should just buy Sony. I mean,
sorry about that. I'm back, Jess. Sorry about that.
Oh, nice.
You didn't freak out, did you?
No, I was all right actually because
good.
I was pretty chill. No, the audience have been very kind to me without you. Thanks, audience.
Yes.
I was talking about Tencent being evil.
Oh yes, you guys, you would. He talks about those all the times in the DMs. Because every day he'll be like, he'll just DM me like, Tencent's gonna take over everything. They're gonna run the video game world. Like, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I get it, Tencent, I get it. Jazz really doesn't like Tencent, and what's the other ones you don't like?
You know what it is that bothers me about Tencent?
What?
The way they operate in the shadows. Like they don't put their name. Tencent doesn't put its name on any of their games. It's like they don't want to be seen, and it's like, well, why not? What have you got to hide? It's like they know they're bad. I don't trust them, Rand.
I don't trust them.
Yeah.
I see. We got a super chat from D Batch. He says, Rand, Jez, do you think the Sony Epic deal will land PlayStation games exclusively on the Epic Store? Glad you're feeling better, Jez. Have a cold one on me. I don't know if you read that one already. But I think Jez says he doesn't think so. But then part of me thinks like, well, Sony's investing in Epic. They would want obviously Epic to grow, but at the same time, putting like Horizon or any of their other games exclusively on the Epic Store is kind of counterintuitive to what they want, where they just want to sell the games to as many people as possible on PC. I guess we'll have to wait and see whatever they do announce with Jez's cough earlier and see where that game comes to, right?
Yep. I think what's because Epic Game Store has like all these social systems, right? Maybe they could just do like deeper integration with the Epic Game Store. So if you buy the Epic Games version of God of War, for example, let's just imagine God of War's coming to PC. Let's just imagine that's something that might happen.
Okay. Okay.
Might get announced in the next few months. Who knows? Maybe like the God of War version on Epic Game Store. Maybe that has like PlayStation Network trophies or something. And it boosts your PlayStation Network score. Like that'd be a cool thing for Sony to experiment with. Is getting like PlayStation Network features on PC, which is what they pretty much don't have right now. But like, I can't see them not putting it on Steam. Like this whole year has been about publishers realizing that Steam is God. Like even EA has ditched their own store and gone back to Steam. Bethesda's gone back to Steam. Ubisoft's gone back to Steam.
Xbox Game Studios seen a lot of success on Steam.
Yeah, like why would you just not? Why would you ignore Steam? It's just a massive platform. It's in like a bajillion markets. If you want to sell a game, You sell it through Steam. That's how you do it. That's how it's done. So if Sony doesn't want to put God of War theoretically onto Steam, that just seems like a waste of resources of porting it to PC in the first place.
Yeah. Mike says, should Microsoft buy WB because of Tencent? We'll continue that conversation.
I did answer that.
Oh, you
question.
did answer. Same one here with Jez. Are there Xbox secrets that you know and can't say? Well, they wouldn't be secrets if Jez told them, right? Told people about them.
There's nothing I can't say, but there are things that I won't say because I don't want to spoil the show.
Yeah. Mike says, Rand, did you wash your hands? I was outside and answering the door. I didn't go to the bathroom. Elementopito says, Jazz, Microsoft has already invested in development tools like Havok. Should they try to compete in game engine space? Would it benefit Microsoft to invest in CryEngine? That's interesting. Probably not, though.
CryEngine is bad.
Yes.
CryEngine is bad. We don't invest in CryEngine. But I would think it'd be cool if they invested in Unity. I think like Unity would complete GameStack, because GameStack is like this whole set of tools developers can use to build games, and the one thing that's missing from that is an engine. Why not stick Unity in there? You know, Unity is like a pretty cool engine. Like, there's not many big AAA games made on Unity, but you know, for games like wasn't Ori made in Unity?
Ori's a Unity game. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, Ori's Unity, and The Long Dark's Unity, and stuff like that. It's a cool engine, and it's cross-platform, which is exactly what Microsoft wants. So, yeah, I think they should invest in an engine, but it's about whether Unity wants to sell. Maybe Unity's like, you know what, we don't need to sell. We'll just, be our own company.
Yeah.
Every company sells eventually,
Eventually.
because like the owners get old or they get bored, and they're just like,
they want that payday, and they don't want to have to worry about it anymore. It's like, yeah.
No, I just want to sell my company and play World of Warcraft in my boxes.
That's what you would do.
That's what I would do, man.
I
would exit so hard and so fast.
You would take your Windows Central millions and go just play World of Warcraft.
I would. I just chill in my underwear, eating pizza, playing World of Warcraft. Like I would sell out so fast.
Ludo San says, guys, what do you think about the Series S using APUs that are for Series X but can't use it because too many CUs don't work? Those would normally go in the trash, but they use it to bring costs down. Now, that would be a question for like D-Batch or Dealer, who know more about the tech stuff, but is that something that essentially going on there, Jazz? Like using...
I have no idea.
So I don't know.
That's beyond.
I'm not the type of person that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That would answer that tech question, but since I had to go because of the WB thing, I'm sure Jez already said what he wanted to say. To me, I made a video about it. Like, opportunity like this doesn't come around very often. You don't see publishers trying to sell. And Warner Brothers, the thing for me with them is they got some world-class talent. Rocksteady, regardless of whether it's Batman or whatever, they are a world-class, masterclass developer. NetherRealm is one of the best fighting game developers out there. You have two of the best developers in the world at what they do in those studios. You have Monolith, who makes really good Shadow of War games, made the Fear games, made Condemned Criminal Origins. You have, a developer in Avalanche, who they're working on the Harry Potter RPG, but they did kind of kids games with cars. You have Traveler's Tales, who makes the very competent Lego games every single year. And then you have some of the Warner Brothers support studios and stuff. Deals like this don't pop up very often for obvious reasons. And, one would think, like, oh man, like if Microsoft could pull that off, getting Batman, if you made a deal to get the licenses. Now, to me, if Microsoft spent the $4 billion to get that stuff, and they also continued to make Batman, I would imagine they would keep Batman multi-platform in the same way they kept Minecraft multi-platform. You spend that type of money, I don't necessarily think you kind of keep it exclusive, and who knows, the license may even demand that it be multi-platform, right, Jez? But the thing about it is, it's all at the end. Even though I think they're worth it, I think anybody will say the talent there is worth it. But the question always comes down to cost, as everything is in life. Is it worth $4 billion?
The talent is like, and the thing about the talent is, Microsoft could just hire them. They don't have to They don't have to buy them. They could just poach them.
Yeah, but some of
Uh,
the there's that is true, but a lot of the cachets in the name Rocksteady, NetherRealm, not Joe Blow from Rocksteady. Not Joe Blow from NetherRealm. You know,
or
there's
maybe they could just rename themselves to, I don't know, Stone Ready or something.
I mean
I
there's
don't know. It's complicated because I don't think you buy Rocksteady and Monolith without a definitive plan for what they'll be doing straight away.
sure.
And
Yeah.
if like if the only game Rocksteady's working on is a licensed game for Batman, and the only game Monolith's working on is maybe like a Lord of the Rings thing or whatever, I don't know. I don't even know what they're working on right now. But Avalanche makes licensed games too, like the Harry Potter game and Mad Max, and it's kind of like if you're losing all of those licenses, because obviously I don't necessarily know if buying those studios comes with the rights to exclusive rights to make games based on those IPs. I would guess it doesn't. You know, like all you really buy in there is the talent and the studios and the infrastructure. And then you would need to very rapidly pivot them away from their licensed games, or like let them finish them, and then basically sell a PlayStation game, which Microsoft is totally happy to do because they sell Minecraft Dungeons on PlayStation, for example. But I don't know, man. That is logistically complicated.
Very.
I wouldn't want to be the team of people trying to work out if that's worth it.
Well, because it's like Warner Brothers has their own publishing arm. Xbox wouldn't need that. They have their own marketing arm. Xbox wouldn't need that. So you're already like, all right, you guys are all lost your job. You're talking about a bunch of studios that have a whole bunch of employees you need to integrate. There's a lot of work that would, and I know a lot of people, like, it's nice to, like, dream. And this would be, like, man, imagine if Xbox added those developers to this. Like, that would complete Xbox. You'd be like, all right, you're set. You don't really need to make any more acquisitions. You have everything you need to become the Netflix of gaming. Quality high, AAA games coming. You have some smaller games interspersed here and there to give the bigger games a little bit more breathing room to kind of, build and stuff like that. Like, you would be set. But like you said, it's like
it makes way more sense for Microsoft to buy independent studios that can be integrated quickly and easily, that you don't have to fire people from because they don't already have marketing departments, or they can be integrated easily. They don't have publishing arms and all that sort of stuff, like studios like IO Interactive.
So let me ask you this though, Jez. What if Tencent suddenly starts sniffing around WB games?
Tencent will buy them, but then they'll have to deal with like 2 years of trying to integrate them, and that gives Microsoft more time to get further ahead with Xbox Game Pass and stuff like that. I don't know.
Who's very interesting that's not tied to these things is someone like Google. You would think Google wouldn't want a stable of developers to work for them, and getting and you don't hear any they're not tied to that, or Amazon. Like, you even hear about, I saw some article today about like even Amazon's next game has been delayed because of how badly this Crucible game came out and did. It's like, why isn't Amazon, like, they need internal developers, and this would give you a lot of them, really good ones, maybe even IP you would need to get people to choose Amazon or Google, but you hear nothing.
Well, this is one thing that people at Xbox have always said to me, like, because I used to fret about Google about a year ago, and I used to fret about Amazon because I remember very vividly the way Google killed Windows Phone by refusing to support it. And I was thinking about, like, oh my god, Google's going to money hat all these games, they're going to buy these studios. But Google's been very, very quiet and slow and kind of unimpressive, honestly. And the thing is, like, people at Xbox are always saying to me, like, gaming is hard. It's not like you can just wait. You can't just wade in with a load of money and suddenly have success overnight. That's what Amazon is discovering very, very hard right now with its Overwatch clone that failed, and it's going to discover it very hard as well with its New World MMO, which doesn't look good. Like, it honestly does not look good. I'm like someone who's a World of Warcraft veteran, and I've seen so many games come up against WoW in the last 15 years and just fail because they just don't understand the fundamental reasons why WoW is successful and other MMOs aren't. It's like, I don't know, it's just shocking to me how they can like just think they can come in with all this money and just win, but they're discovering very quickly that they can't. And Google have like there were rumors that Google's parent company have told them to not spend as much money on Stadia as well because they're not convinced that it's like worth the time and effort. So like basically they're doing a mixer with Stadia right now, seeing if they can make it. Yeah, exactly. Seeing if they can make it work with like
with what
minimal
they have. Damn, it's not going to work if that's the case. You might as well just count them out.
Yeah, exactly.
So
gaming is hard. You have to be like super serious about it and super aggressive. And Google and Amazon just ain't being that right now. The only companies that are being that right now are like Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Tencent. Those are the only companies that are being aggressive with it right now.
So while I would love for Xbox to buy Warner Brothers games because I'm a huge fan of Rocksteady and NetherRealm and Monolith, and even I would love for them to do it without the IPs. I think unless like Tencent or Sony really came looking, or Google, I don't think Microsoft will pursue it. They're interested in it. From everything I've heard, they're interested in it. Maybe even a little bit serious about it. But if push came to shove, and if you were holding a gun to my head and said, "All right, your life depends on this. Does Microsoft buy Warner Brothers or not?" I would have to say no. I don't think they do. Not for that price. Not for that price. Maybe if it came down a little bit, and even still, if it does, it's like, man, that's a lot of people to get integrated. There might be other opportunities out there. Because when you think about it, man, like $4 billion, like what else could you get for that money? Could you invest it in the Game Pass and get more games in there? Like, what would be the better thing? And I know, and some people will be like,
I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it.
Well, I mean, if it was me, I'd do it, but I don't run the company, and like
I would do it.
But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see the reactions, like on Twitter and on social media, if that would actually happen. But I don't think it will. I think somebody will buy them eventually, and I think it would be somebody who would one of the like Jess says, Tencent, but probably someone like Activision, who has the money, who would keep it multi-platform, get the licenses, and just keep everything running the way it's kind of been. I think that's essentially what's going to happen.
Yeah, like this sort of merger sort of thing. I don't see Microsoft buying them. I think Microsoft, they prefer to buy smaller, talented studios. Like, I can totally see them buying Bloober Team.
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see them buying IO Interactive. I could totally see them buying I don't know,
Techland,
studio,
maybe.
Yeah, Techland, maybe. I could even see them buying Hello Games and stuff like that. But I really just can't see this Warner Bros. Thing being a thing because of the amount of licensing that is involved and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speedy Springtrap says, if Fable were to be announced in the July event, could that give Microsoft a push to put Fable 2 and 3 on Steam? Maybe, potentially, I don't know. I think Fable would be... Maybe it would. Let's see. The rumor, Jez, from the other Xbox game showcase was that Initiative's game is being held back. And it's being held back potentially to show off in August to counteract any Sony announcement in August. The idea being that Sony held games back from their June show because they knew Microsoft was going to have something. So they wanted to have something that they could do after Xbox so they could have the final word. And rumors are pointing to an early state of play in August, where Sony might reveal new games, maybe give the pricing of the system. And the idea is that
I know that Sony's going to announce major third-party money-hatted games.
Major third-party money hack games. Is my prediction of Final Fantasy 16 being exclusive to PlayStation 5 going to end up being true? Probably.
Maybe.
Square Enix is kind of they're going to ride with Sony in the beginning of this gen. They're going to take their money.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Sony has some bigger announcements, and Xbox is thinking, well, we also too want to be able to have some announcements, and Lockhart is a hardware thing, so the current line of thinking is like Sony comes out early August, shows what they show, and if it is impressive, if it gets people talking, then Microsoft kind of puts together the thing with Lockhart, some other games, give the price, but also at the same time you give the price, be like, here's what the initiative is working on, show the trailer for Perfect Dark, and boom, you have the last word, you have the price, you have a new game announcement to counteract what Sony does, and then you kind of move into the launch of the consoles. And if it doesn't happen, they can always hold the game and show it off at the VGAs. They could show it off at XO 2020 if they're doing one. The question, though, Jez, I think a lot of people have here is, should Xbox be holding anything back from this July show?
I think like it makes sense if Sony are gonna, try and have a final word thing. And then Mike the day after Microsoft's like, oh, by the way, here's this quadruple A game from our Santa Monica studio. Just do it. Why not?
Yeah,
it's everything to play for. And if Microsoft can just slip in and be petty and have the final word, like, just do it. Why not?
Well, I expect PlayStation to be petty. I expect them to come out and maybe have a PlayStation announcements right before the Xbox event, whether the week before or during that week. Can you see that happening? I wouldn't be surprised. Sony loves doing that stuff.
I do.
I could easily see that stuff. Shout out to the friendly neighborhood blue shell, Activision, after what happened with Bungie and EA. Honestly, buying Warner Brothers games just for the Game Pass day ones and not exclusive alone seems worth it, but who knows? And Andrew Gudd says, you think Sony will buy Warner Brothers since they aren't getting Leyu Technologies? Maybe Sony backed out to do the Warner Brothers news, since that may have been true a few months ago when Sony was rumored to buy Leyu. So that's the other thing we're going to talk about. Like, Sony was rumored to be bidding on Leyu, who are the parent company owners of Digital Extremes, who make Warframe and a few other studios. But it came out that Tencent and Leyu have entered into, a 3-month exclusive contract where they can only negotiate with Tencent. So it sounds like Tencent will be the one to pick up Leyu.
Yep.
So do you think Sony, if they miss out on this, which was apparently more Sony wanted them and not necessarily PlayStation, do you think then they go and be like, okay, let's go chase after Warner Brothers, or they go look at other opportunities? What do you think?
I think it's possible, but I think Sony would end up in the same logistical problems we talked about with Microsoft. The Tencent want Leyu because of Warframe. Warframe's another one of those free-to-play games that they love so much. Tencent loves free-to-play games. They love them, like Path of Exile, League of Legends, all that sort of stuff. Valorant, I guess. So Warframe is like perfectly within their purview. They weren't gonna let that slip. They just weren't gonna let it slip. But like for Warner Brothers, it's a bit different because again, it's like what do they actually have if you don't get those IPs? It's not like Warner Brothers is gonna sell Batman itself. It's complicated. It's hard. It's just they'd be like if Microsoft bought them or whoever bought them, there'd be so much like minutia that had to be like sorted out, and so much stuff that have to explain to investors. Like, does this mean Batman's exclusive to Xbox now? And it's like, well, no, probably not. And it's like all this sort of stuff. Batman isn't exactly an ongoing game that has engagement and stuff like that. So I don't know.
The other bit of news was that PlayStation revealed the new game cases. It's white on it's white on blue, I believe. I didn't really care for the look. I thought white on black would have looked better. But then again, I'm a digital only gamer, so like the game cases don't matter. But one of the things that's interesting about the game case is that it no longer has the only on PlayStation branding in the top right corner. So people have been wondering, what does that mean? And they've even asked like James Stevenson, who is a PR dude over at Insomniac, and he keeps on linking back to the website where, it says only on PlayStation and the game's coming for it. But here's the thing. So when Sony started up the PS4 generation, they never thought they would go to PC, right? So they put all these games and all these nomenclature on there only on PlayStation because at the time it was true. At the time when Horizon Zero Dawn was in development and came out in 2017, Sony wasn't going to put their games on PC. But of course, plans and strategies always change, right? So now there's different leadership at PlayStation. The market has kind of shifted a little bit in ideology. PlayStation is kind of moving along with it a little bit slower than Xbox is in that regard. So you don't put it on the box anymore because once it's on the box, it's on there forever. And you can have it on the website because all you got to do is just remove the game from the website where it says only on PlayStation and you're done. Does that mean Spider-Man Miles Morales will be on PC? No, not necessarily. Maybe one day it would be 3 years down the road, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. But it does mean Sony... Look, we've said it before in this podcast. Sony's goal is to eventually put all their games on PC. Now, they're not going to do it day one. It'll be all down the road. But you can't really put only on PlayStation on your thing when you have plans of putting those games on other platforms. I mean, that's why they created the PlayStation Studios logo, which literally said, hey, this is what's going to show up when we have other games on other platforms. And MLB shows coming to Xbox next year, as well as the Nintendo Switch. You have Horizon on Steam. Jez's Cough coming soon to Steam. Many other games. It's just kind of the inevitability of it. So... It's
like you literally like in some I don't know what the case is in America, but in the UK you couldn't say only on PlayStation legally and then put it on another platform. Like that's false advertising. You couldn't do it. Like if someone bought that game based on the fact it's exclusive and then it's not exclusive, they could sue Sony, potentially. So it's like that's where that comes from.
Yeah, so it's just easier. It's just easier to remove it from the website than it is to remove it from the game case. So that is what it is. I mean, that's kind of the plan, at least as far as I know. Like, this upcoming gen is gonna look a little bit different. Games will be everywhere. It's gonna be fun. More people playing more games. The game creators making more money from putting their games everywhere. I think it's gonna be a great generation. But that's probably where we're gonna end the show. We'll open it up for questions. So make sure you, if you got something you want to ask, make sure you put it into the chat. But we want to thank everybody who tuned in. We hit over 1,500, which is I think the high for the podcast. So thank you guys very much. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. The notification bell is right there too. If you always want to be notified when I drop new videos or when the podcast goes live, it'll do that for you. You can follow me and Jez on Twitter. All the info's on the screen. Got anything to say, Jez, before we answer these questions the beautiful people have?
Nah, man. Let's get into it.
No, man. PUBG. I can't believe you thought PUBG was my game of the year.
It is.
What a joke.
Game of the gen.
We have someone who says, you suck. Thank you. Yes, we do. We do suck. Thank you. I appreciate you being here watching us suck. So... What does that say about you? Grounded Gamer says, Rand, what's up, Fonz? Hope you're having a great day, brother. He I don't know if you saw his thumbnail yesterday in his video, but he made Hulk Spencer or Phil Hulk.
Hulk Spencer.
He had a big he put Phil's face on the Hulk's body. So we got Hulk Spencer.
I love the Phil memes.
Yeah,
I love sending the Phil memes to Phil.
Master Chief says, do you think they reveal the release date for the Halo TV show at the 23rd event? No.
No,
At least I hope not. So no. Adam Koroski says, when are you going to invite someone from RDX on your podcast? Well, we've talked about this before. The podcast is a two-person show. We don't really do guests here. But, maybe we'll do, Xbox 2+1. Even the Gamertag Radio guys were like, how about we do a crossover? Xbox 2 plus Gamertag Radio, where we have Danny and Paris on, or maybe we could have RDX invades Xbox 2 or something. You know what I mean? We'll talk
like WWE, NWO,
WCW versus NWO and stuff like that, or WWE RDX invades Xbox 2. We'll definitely be doing stuff like that in the future for sure. Harvinder says, did Ninja Theory build the second support studio? I don't know about that. did they build a second support studio, Jez?
I have no idea. I'd need to look into that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Let's see here. Danero says, "Hey, Jez, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hype are you for the July event?" Oh, he wants it on a scale now. It's not just enough to know that you're hyped. He wants to know exactly how hyped are you. 1 to 10, Jez.
1 to 10. Man, 8.5 right now.
8.5 at this very moment.
That 0.5 is me leaving 1 foot in the door of not getting too hyped.
Okay, fair enough. Mariana Pampa says, if it was up to you guys, how would you start and end the Xbox event? Thank you guys for the show and content. Stay filmic. Well, to me, look, here's what I think's going to happen. They're going to start the show with Halo. They're going to set the tone. And they're going to end the show with Fable. That's how I think it's going to happen. But if I was in charge and I was putting this together and I wasn't holding anything back, I would start with Fable. I'd hit them with that right out of the gate. Fable's here. No more secrets. It's here. You get people excited about a brand new game. It's Fable. Boom, done. You have Halo sometime in the middle. Hype people up again. And then you end with Perfect Dark or whatever the initiative's game's working on. Boom. That's what you do. But that's not gonna happen. What would you start and end the event, Jez, if you were working?
I'd start the show with a 20-minute deep dive on Wasteland 3.
Oh God.
And then I'd end the show on a 40-minute long deep dive on State of Decay 3.
It'd be the worst show of all time. it'd be the worst show ever made.
And I'd also have like a 30-minute segment about how the human eye can't see more than 24 frames a second.
Caloric says, "You excited for Ghost of Tsushima at all? How do you expect this game to score?" I am excited for Ghost of Tsushima. My expectations are based on what Sony... Like, you can kind of get a sense of what Sony feels a game's going to score based on how early the embargo is for a game, right? Like, God of War's embargo was 2 weeks early. That game, like, got 94s, 95s. They were very confident in it. Last of Us 2, very confident in that game. Week before, 94s, 95s. Days Gone, the day of or the day before, 70s. You can tell how Sony is confident and how they think a game will rate based on how many days they give for the embargo. Now, as far as I know, the embargo for Ghost of Tsushima is like 3 days before it comes out. It's Tuesday. The game comes out on Friday. So just based on how, previous things with Sony and how they, view games and their embargo, that says to me that I think Sony's expecting the game to get mid to low 80s. I think that's what Sony's expecting. But I don't know. I don't really know anything about the game. I haven't talked to anybody that's played it. So... hopefully it's great. I mean, I have seen some things on Twitter where they're talking about how like it's as good of writing and good side quests as like Witcher 3 and stuff like that, which is high praise.
Oh, wow.
So
that is high praise.
That is high praise. So we'll have to see on that. John Ricky says, "Do you think Obsidian will bring back that canceled game Stormlands?" That was the game that they were working on for the launch of Xbox One, where it was like an RPG with 1,000 people or something, and then Microsoft canceled it. And then they had to go to Kickstarter to save Obsidian. And then they ended up back at Xbox. No, I don't think they will. Do you think they will, Jez?
No, I don't think so. It's funny how that worked out, isn't it?
It is very funny. Elver Gusana says, "Is Far Cry 6 coming out on Xbox One?" Yes, it's a Ubisoft game. It's a cross-gen game. It's definitely coming out on Xbox One. Sammy Basila says, any rumors from Compulsion Games? Hear anything about Compulsion Games, Jez?
Actually, no, I'm not going to spoil it.
Don't spoil it, okay.
I'm not going to spoil it. I don't spoil game stuff, but I will say you might see that game at the show, maybe. Blaze Optics says, "Rand, do you think Techland will announce Dying Light 2 July 23rd? Well, I mean, the game's already announced. Could I see the game being there? Yeah, sure. I could see the game being there. There's rumors that it's in development trouble. It was supposed to launch this year, but it's starting to look like maybe it won't. Dying Light 2. Oh yeah, that's like Man, it bugs me because I saw Dying Light at like a show like a year ago or 2 years ago. I can't even remember now, and it looked really good.
Mm.
So I desperately want that game to come out. I worry about that game.
JX Da says, "Do you think Xbox could buy EA?" I mean, Microsoft could buy anybody. Will they? That's more the question. No, Xbox is not going to buy EA. Like, I don't know. This whole publisher talk about like, oh, Warner Brothers, and everyone's like, can Xbox? Like, yeah, Microsoft could buy whoever. Like, I think what they have like $180 billion on hand. They're valued at like $1 trillion. They can buy whoever they want. Well, realistically, but they're not going to because it wouldn't be smart money. It wouldn't be smart to buy EA. I don't think for whatever. EA would be billions upon billions of dollars, even more than Warner Brothers games, right? What's EA valued at right now? Let me
A
look.
lot,
Let
a
me
lot of
look.
billions.
Let me look at what Electronic Arts stock. Let's look what Electronic Arts is valued at right now in the stock market. $40 billion is their market cap right now. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, nobody
Yeah,
you ain't buying that, okay? Not so no. Um let's see. Brian wants to know, do you think there's any chance they'll debut XCOM 3 at the July event? Thanks guys, keep up the great work.
ooh.
XCOM 3, Jez, what do you think? Didn't they just release a new XCOM game? Like
They
right before
released
Gears
a
Tactics?
standalone. It's a standalone DLC sort of little game. I would love it if they did, but I don't know. Maybe the XCOM's further out. I think the fact that they released this sort of mini game sort of thing was a way to maybe help cash flow the studio while they work on the main thing. I
Mm-hmm.
did think it was odd that they released like this mini XCOM in the middle that was nothing to do with anything. I never actually played that either. But I don't know. I would love that because I'm a big XCOM fan. Love that franchise. It's one of my favorite franchises. So, but no, I don't think so.
Brett wants to know, do you think Halo 5 will get a PC release or a PC port on Master Chief Collection?
100% yes.
You think Halo 5 will eventually come to PC? And
And
there's no wiggle room on that one. You're 100% on that, huh?
yeah, I'm 100% on that.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense, yeah. Mike says, what do you think of Tencent's new studio? Well, they haven't officially bought them yet. But I mean, hey, they got their pies in a lot of stuff, and that's just kind of what Tencent does. So,
Did you say they've got their pies and a lot of stuff?
I thought I said they have their hands in a lot of pies. Did I say they have did they have their pies in a lot of hands? Did I flip it?
You said that they've got a lot of pies and a lot of stuff.
Oh, I must have said it wrong. Mike says, Jez, hot toddy for cough.
Where's the hot toddy?
I don't know.
America, I think.
Let's see, we got Nine Lives says, what do you guys think about the changes to Gears 5? I don't really know any. I don't really follow changes to the Gears multiplayer, so I don't know what the changes are. Do you, Jez?
I actually haven't seen anything about that.
I don't know. I just don't care about Gears. I know they're bringing Dom back for this Operation 4, but I don't know any changes to the multiplayer or anything.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that. I haven't checked out. Sorry.
Beat Sensei says, which would be a bigger mic moment, Halo Infinite beta or free-to-play Halo multiplayer? Great show again, guys. What would be a bigger mic drop moment, Halo Infinite beta that day or Halo's multiplayer being free-to-play?
I think the thing about Halo being free-to-play is going to be controversial just because of what free-to-play is. I think a lot of core Halo fans will be like, "Oh, don't like that. Means it's going to be pay to win or something like that." Obviously, it won't be, but I think like saying it's free to play would make more questions than answers. So I think like maybe you announce that it's free to play as part of a dedicated event. That's what I would do personally, because the people watching the show are going to be the Xbox hardcore.
Yeah.
I would save that for a dedicated show. Maybe just talk about the beta this time.
Kutro Cinco says, could you see Microsoft coaxing BioWare from EA? Nah, I can't see that happening.
No.
I mean, I would like for it to happen. I love BioWare, but no. I don't think EA is going to get... EA might kill them eventually. EA is really in love with Respawn right now, though, you know?
Yeah, well, Respawn have delivered the goods.
That is true. Respawn has delivered the goods, and BioWare has not. Joe Cho says, is Microsoft discontinuing the Xbox Ones? I see a lot of that stuff on Twitter, Jez. Like Xbox Ones, the One X is really hard to find. People,
I don't think they're officially discontinuing them. What it is that they've sold out of the stock because everyone's stuck at home, and they can't manufacture them fast enough to meet demand. Like Nintendo Switches are sold out as well. We talked about it earlier. All headsets are sold out, like gaming headsets. Like none of the companies can manufacture them fast enough to meet demand. So I don't think they're discontinued necessarily. I just think they're sold out, and they're probably making more to restock now. But I don't think they'll stop. I at least don't think they'll stop selling the S. They might stop selling the X, but I honestly don't know.
yeah.
It's just my guess.
Just our guess. Mariana says, hey, any special edition Series X consoles on release? I can't see them releasing. Unless it's like all the first runs are like Scorpio editions like Xbox did with the One X, where it's like some special Series X edition.
What if they did like a Halo?
Well, that's the thing. It's like you would think they would want to do something special for Halo, but I can't. Do you see them doing a Series X, a regular one, and then one for Halo? Because I can't. Not everybody's gonna play Halo #1, and not everybody wants like a special edition Halo console for their. So I can't imagine the only console being a Halo one. So it has to be multiple. But like, do you see them doing multiples right away?
I don't know. It's like it's potentially pretty easy to make customs of that one because it's just a box.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It almost feels like it was designed with that in mind. So they probably did really well selling some of the limited edition versions. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It could go either way.
Cinema Game says, question, if Microsoft buys Warner Brothers, where should they announce it? July or with the Series S? And by the way, we need more upvotes. Great show, guys. Thank you. Yeah, hit the like button, guys. Okay, theoretically, if Microsoft bought Warner Brother, it wouldn't be in time for this July show, and it wouldn't be in time for the announcement with Series S. Like, there's a lot of things to work out in an arrangement with this. It would take a long time. And who knows how long that would take? You know, I think people expecting an announcement at this July show for them buying Warner Brothers, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment in that regard. You know? So if it does happen, it won't happen for a long time. There's a lot of things that you would have to work out in a huge deal like that. This isn't like, hey, we're Bloober Team and we want, 30 million or whatever, and you can kind of do that and sign the dots and get some things going and get them integrated. Like, this is massive publisher with their own department. You would have to figure out there's so much that would go with that it wouldn't just be like, hey, we need this we need this to be able to announce on July 23rd. It just isn't realistic. But thank you for the question though. And you know what? I think that's going to be the last one. We're going to get out of here. It's getting late for Jez. We'll be back next Friday, obviously, the 17th, with another show talking more about Series X. That'll be the last one before the showcase. We'll give our predictions and stuff like that. So, yeah. If you're listening to this later, hope you enjoy the show on Google, Google Play and iTunes and Spotify. Get us up those tech charts, as Jez says, right? Number 100 in the tech charts and all those places. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. Keep it gaming. And Jez, you got anything to say before we bounce?
No, just thanks again for all the well wishes while I was sick, everyone. Really appreciate it. And have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Later, guys. Have a good one. See you next week. And play some video games, yeah?
Yeah.